seconds.
You're unmuted.
8:59.
Oh, for sure.
Yes, I should. A lot, most of them should lay like a blue or a green egg.
I think they taste different.
They're much better for you.
Okay.
Good morning. We'll call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Not
Here.
Markey,
Here.
Nye. Here. Roloff.
Here.
Sauer.
Here.
Craig. Here. Worsakki.
Here.
All present.
If you join me for the invocation and the pledge of allegiance. Commissioner Sauer, please.
Gracious God, as we come before you today to discuss important matters, we ask for your guidance and wisdom. You are the source of all knowledge and understanding, therefore we seek your direction in our decision-making process. Help us to listen attentively to one another, with open hearts and minds. In your name I pray.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We've had the agenda in advance of the meeting. Is there any additions, corrections, anything you'd like to talk about on it? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion. No move. Evan,
Second.
Christie Sports. Again, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. We have the minutes. We're going to deal with each one individually. So we have the minutes from December 10th. I'd look for a motion for approval.
Nye. Nye moves to approve.
Markey will support. Questions, comments? Tammy, did you have anybody contact you about those minutes?
I did not.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes from January 7th.
Make the motion to approve as presented.
Gary? Evan supports.
Yeah, sorry. Second.
Any comments, questions? Did you get any calls on this?
I did not.
Hey, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. And if you would indulge me, when you make motions, if you would just announce your first name for those people that might be on Zoom, they'll know who made those motions. Thank you. We're at the first public comment regarding items on the agenda. Would anybody from the public like to speak? Don't be shy. All right, we'll close public comments and we'll move to department heads and elected official reports. Who would like to go first? Sheriff?
Good morning, all. Couple of real quick things. We held a meeting on January 6th at the sheriff's office. It was organizational and training for our deputies, sergeants and such. I handed out approximately 20 awards there that we've been working on for our folks, ranging in bravery, awards for life-saving, and professional excellence. You should be seeing something in the Benzie paper soon, but wanted to let you know that we are very proud of our employees and we're recognizing them for their efforts because they're doing very good things up there. Also, in the corrections update, I promoted Trish Drager to sergeant. As you know, we've had a vacancy for sergeant up there in the jail for many months. And it took quite a process to get that completed. And that happened just towards the end of December. So, and waiting to I wanted to bring her down here, but she's not working today, so she's got a day off. So anyway, when you see Trish Drager, congratulate her, please. Any questions for me?
Understand one of your ex-employees, Keith in Frankfurt.
Oh, yes. Yeah, Mark Katz retired from here, as you know, after 25 years. And he put in for the chief position up in town, Frankfurt, and he was chosen. So we're working with him. Under Sheriff and I are helping him to get things started. There's a lot of moving parts that, you know, it's a learning curve. And as far as training records, MCOLs, all that stuff that Under Sheriff and I are familiar with, we're reaching out to him and helping him get through some of those battles. So yeah, we're working hand in hand with them. Yeah, good stuff.
If these recognitions that you just had, is that an annual thing or is that something new?
Well, we try to do them as they come along, but this one and these ended up being a culmination of most of the year, as it turns out. I don't like to just have a officer come in my office and give them, you know, we try to have their peers present, and sometimes it's really hard to get everyone together, as you might understand. So it's not really designed that way to be a yearly thing, but that's kind of how it ended up. Yeah, we had a good turnout and good things.
Good. Glad you're doing that.
Oh, absolutely.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you.
Thank you all.
Any other department heads or elected officials? Please.
Point at me, so I figured I'd go. Troy Hines, manager at Benzie County Road Commission. Some quick updates on what we got going on this year. So far, we've had 52 inches of snow. With the temperatures being this cold out there, 10 degrees, it's hard to keep those roads broken. That's why the highways still have some ice and back roads still have some hard pack on them, but we're supposed to get almost 38 degrees Thursday and Friday. So we should be able to break those roads going into the weekend, and then next week's supposed to be cold again. So been a lot of fun. We've been keeping up with it the best we can. We have a full staff, and they've been busy overtime and everything else. So projects, I don't know if Gary has talked about projects that we did with local millage. So our local millage, they decided on Betsy River Road, Johnson Road, Demerly Road, and Nugent Road for wedging and overlays. And the road commission has chose Valley Road north of Fowler. There's 2 miles there. We got to do some trenching, crush and shape, and repaving that whole section up that way. That's probably one of our worst primary roads that we have. And then the federal aid for next year, we're going to do Platte Road, overlay on Platte, just to keep that updated because it's currently cracking. It's got some inverts in it. So we're going to try to correct that, make it right, and keep it going. I did do a compliance plan as well as an asset management plan that's going to be posted up on our website, hopefully later this week. I had board approval, so I got to submit it to TAMC, and then I will put it up online for you guys to read. About 300 pages long. So if you have any questions on it, let me know. Next year for 25, the Hayes Road abutments, we are still on schedule to get those removed. That bridge failed quite a while ago, and the abutments, concrete abutments, have been sitting there, built it back. So that's going to be MDOT money. They are the ones paying for it and bidding it out. We also have Hayes Road south of 31, a superstructure replacement. We got to check the abutments there to make sure they're good. And then we have that federally funded to replace the top on that. And next year, I guess it'll be this year, 2025, MDOT is paving the detour for US 31. That detour is Reynolds Road south of 31, Cinder Road over to Bendon, and down around Rhodes Road. MDOT is paying for trenching, paving the shoulders, and overlaying all those roads for us. So that's pretty big. That's a lot of money down there. And we did have a special meeting. It was the 12th about the facility. Katie attended that, and we're still kind of in the works since the millage did not pass. We're trying to figure out what we can do next and how to go about it. We're currently working on that.
Your questions for Troy? And if you would, and I don't know if you can do this with some brevity, but for our new commissioner and for those of us that need a refresher, can you tell us how you select roads that you described you're gonna be dealing with this year?
We have a program called Road Soft, and we do pacer ratings every year with MDOT on the primary roads and every other year on the local roads. And this pacer rating goes off of the deterioration of the road. You know, 1s through 3s are poor. 4s through 6s are fair, and then anything above 6 is good. And we use those pacer ratings as well as deterioration rate of the roads to pick a list of local roads. Then the local road committee comes together, which is the 1 or 2 officials from each township come together at our office there and decide where they want to go with the local millage. As far as primary roads, those are selected by the road commission. But the local roads, we try to group everything as close as we can together to get the best price for asphalt. If you got something up in Elmira and you got something down in Blaine, and the traveling distance is going to drive the asphalt price up. But generally, we try to stay centrally located in one area. And we give the local road committee a plan A, plan B, and if they like them, they like them. If they don't, then they choose something else. Ultimately, it's up to the local townships.
I appreciate that. And Christie, not to call you out by name, but I'm sure anytime you've got questions on how that operates, used a couple of acronyms, feel free to talk to them, okay?
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Troy. Heather, Paula, please.
Paula Eberhardt, Register of Deeds. I'm sure you've all seen on the news that Wexford County their Register of Deeds office has been down for a couple of months now due to a cyber attack. And I just want to thank you as commissioners for letting Katie get the computer, the cyber protection and the firewalls, because I think that probably saved us. And the Fiddler company that we have is always doing measures to keep ahead of these cyber attacks. So I hope that we don't ever have to go through that, because right now Wexford County, they can't get mortgages, they can't sell, they can't buy. They are at a standstill, the whole county. So I would hate to see if that was to happen here, but I just want to thank you guys to see how important that is, that we're kind of trying to keep ahead of all of that stuff by protecting the computer systems.
Yeah, thanks for the comments, Paula.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I do want to say we had our biggest deposit in the 30 years I've been here in December. One day we deposited 171,000 in transfer tax, which was the Alberta sale, but I just want to say that was the first time we ever seen that big of a deposit in one day. So that was awesome. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions or comments for our Register of Deeds? Well, before you leave, because you talked about the cyber attacks, we're again reading in the paper where people are having their titles stolen from them, so to speak. We've got this program out there, Protect Them. Could you remind the public again what that program is and how they can sign up for it?
Yeah, we have a property fraud alert. It's free service. It's kind of like LifeLock that's on TV, but they charge for it. And if anything comes into our office, the records put in are updated and title companies count on them by the minute. If anything comes in, it would notify you right away if you sign up for this property fraud, and it would alert you that something come in under your name. So then you can come to our office or call and check and see what it was. And if it wasn't something you did, take action on it. So we encourage everybody to do it, and as long as it's free, might as well take advantage of it.
Well, just as an antidote, you know that I signed up for it a couple of years ago. I recently allowed an easement to be placed on a piece of property I owned. Sure enough, when it was filed, I got notification.
Right. Yeah, so it does work. I know a lot of people have gotten things and they'll call and see what it is, and sure enough, it was something they did, so then they're fine, but
So it's working.
yeah.
Thank you, Paula. Would anybody else like to address the commissioners? I see that we have the president of the school board here today. Brian, do you want to take this opportunity, or are you just here observing? Okay, all right. Well, if there's no other reports, we will move on to the approval of the bills.
Good morning, Kelly Long, County Treasurer. Bills for the last 2 weeks. Oh, yes, right. Last month, December 12th of 24 through January 9th of 25. We have a total of $1,129,593.07.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
I'll support.
I have one question. There
Go ahead, please.
there were just two payments to senior resources on the same day, two large payments. Is that common?
Two large payments.
Oh, were they?
Undisputed,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you. Very good, thank you. It caught my
I
eye.
was gonna say normally no.
Okay.
Christie, this is your first full meeting. Did you have any questions on the bills that were submitted?
I did, but I had them answered earlier.
Very good. Thanks for submitting those in advance. All right. Any other questions or comments? Let me do this by roll call. Yeah, better.
Markey?
Yes.
Nye? Yes. Roloffs?
Yes.
Sauer?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Worsakki?
Yes.
Janat?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right.
All right, one more thing here. I wanted to bring to the attention of the Weldon Township Commissioner. Not sure which one that is, Mr. Sauer here. We had an L4029 faux pas brought to our attention last Thursday. The fire operating for Weldon Township was not supposed to commence until 2026. And on the L4029, it was written on there and it got put on the tax bill. So between Friday and yesterday, me and my staff have corrected. We've removed it. We've sent out new bills, corrected bills as of yesterday. And anyone that has paid for those prior, Sally will be working on sending out refund checks. So a corrected bill with a letter explaining why it's a corrected bill was sent out yesterday. And refund checks will be sent out within the next few weeks as she works on them a little bit at a time.
Thank you. They did address that last night at Thompsonville.
Very good.
Rams on top of that too.
Perfect. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. We're a few minutes early, but if nobody objects, we could move into the report from Health and Wellness.
Morning, everybody. Chip Johnston, Central Wellness Network, Manistee Benzie Community Mental Health. New commissioners. I've been with the agency for, this will be my 36th year. 18th as CEO, and the picture in the annual report is when my hair was not gray.
Really?
Imagine that. This is part of my annual obligations, and also I enjoy coming to visit, and you'll probably see me more than once this year. So you should have a copy of the annual report. The one thing I wanted to go right to is pretty much pages 6 and 7. And just report to you that the funds that the county provides to us brings in a total of $21 million between Manistee and Benzie counties. We served in 23 1,700 individuals, which is the most we've ever served. A large portion of that is our school programs. We have a robust school prevention program. And we also work with the schools for funding that they receive for mental health services called 31N money. It's outside of the CMH funds that we have. Prior to 31N, we're using our own resources in combination with school resources. Now that they have this funding, we've been able to move into the middle schools and high schools to provide actual counseling on site. So nice, robust program between here and we find that it really cuts off problems before they become large. And it involves all folks, regardless of insurance or status. We don't have to go through our statutory obligations to with severe and persistent mental illness. We can deal with any issue that's brought to us at the school. So very proud of that. The other thing that we do that a lot of CMHs do not do is last year we had an opioid in 23. We had an opioid health home. We worked with our partners in the region, Catholic Human Services and others, to move from an opioid health home to a substance abuse health home, which we started in October. That involves all substances. What we see is primarily it's alcohol that's the number one, and opioids was just a thin slice of that. So now we're available to use that funding for all comers to our area. And you will see us later at 1 o'clock to talk about the opioid dollars from the county. So we'll be back to talk about that. Pretty much that is, unless you have some questions, I know you had this in advance. That is a nice recap of last year or of 23. We're wrapping up last year, and that's why you'll see me again. So there are some things that I want to bring to your attention that Commissioner Markey wanted me to cover today. And so one of the things, before I move on to what's going on, I wanted to talk about our partnership with the Sheriff's Office. That is gaining some traction. Under Sheriff Hubers and I talked to Calhoun County and Battle Creek Police Department about trying to emulate what we're doing here. And to what's on Commissioner Markey's list is, out of all of that, they are looking to, the sheriff in particular down there is looking to move forward. But I've been asked to attend a national conference along with NACO in March to talk about this as well. I'm going to be on a panel. I'm not quite sure what that looks like. I really would like to invite the Sheriff's Department if it's possible to attend that. I'm not sure, but based on what I'm getting right now, I've got the invite and they wanted me to save the time. It's sort of like making Jell-O. It's the hot water phase at this point. So I'll keep you posted. So that is one of the things when I talked about this arrangement that we have with the Sheriff's Department. In other words, it's a behavioral health deputy. So it's someone who is actually, just for edification purposes, someone who actually switches hats and becomes us when they run across somebody that's in need of mental health or substance abuse services. And then they work with us directly. We've had some fantastic turnaround times, et cetera. So it's quick intervention and get things solved. One of the things that I was asked to speak about today is our neighbor to our east, Northern Lakes Community Mental Health. An audit was conducted on their finances, and it looks like in one fiscal year alone that they are going to owe back to Medicaid, our major funder, 80% of our funding, about $2 million. And so this is why it's important to pay attention to your CMH, because if that CMH does not have the funds in its reserves, guess who's next? It's the counties. So if the counties want to continue to have that CMH represent them, they'll have to pony up the cash. So this is why it's important to keep a good eye on your CMH and make sure they're doing a good job, to which Rhonda and I and Tim Markey do a fantastic job. So keep me pretty honest. I have not laid my eyeballs on it yet. I've heard verbally in reports. I should get that report next week in detail. In this fiscal year, the state of Michigan has underfunded the system already $30 million from what was appropriated by the legislature, and we're in January. It's a Goldilocks situation in our region. There's 5 CMHs. I'm sort of like baby bear in the middle. We're just fine. But there are some that are over budget to the tune of $2 million already. And we're not quite sure what's going to happen with them. And so we're all in the same pool with Medicaid, so it needs to be figured out. So we will take steps within the region to address their overruns, et cetera. And then finally, a really interesting notion from the state of Michigan in their agreement with Medicaid is that they feel that CMHs have a conflict when someone comes into our services, that we case manage them, provide, work with families, find the services that they need, and then provide the service. Well, under state law, we're supposed to do that, and have been since 1974. The state of Michigan has had a federal waiver from that because of state law for over 20 some years, since 2002. And we're able to articulate to the federal government why that is. They just now agreed as of December and got a sign off from CMS, the feds, Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services, that if you are able to provide, the CMH will have to pick one or the other. So in other words, when someone comes in the door, I wouldn't be able to case manage them, and then I would have to contract out services, or someone would have to come in to somebody else and then come to me. So they've created another step for anyone seeking services, which will really interfere with anything that we're trying to do here as a community. They are offering for rural exemptions. We're squarely in the middle of a rural exemption. There are, in the UP and us, there are 2 counties, and they're doing it by county. So there are 2 counties that might not be exempt, and that's Grand Traverse and Marquette. And so that CMH is going to have to figure out how it is it can provide the full range of services in the other counties that they serve, but do it differently in one. It's a hot mess. So the urban community mental health boards are gearing up for a lawsuit. You can't, as a state, sign a waiver that violates state law, is the theory. Fortunately for us, we're like, we'll figure it out. And hopefully we'll get an exemption from the state. So that's kind of a big deal. Any questions? Follow-up?
How do you get that exemption? Is that through the legislature or?
Yeah, the state of Michigan hasn't figured out a process yet, but there's sort of a guideline in the waiver. It's they will designate based on the U.S. Census Bureau the rural communities, and then we have to put in place the mitigation to mitigate conflict between our case managers and the services that we provide. And so, one, I'm going to tell them, well, it's the law. And then, but 2, we've been doing it for 20 years, and I'm just going to pick up on the fact that when someone comes in, you're able to offer them other service providers if they're available.
Looks like, this is just my opinion, that it's going to make it more difficult for people to get services, because the more bureaucracy and nightmare you've got there, they're not going to be able to access stuff as easily. So hopefully they will listen.
Yeah, I hope so. I am mostly concerned about Benzie County because I can see a third-party intake process referring them to providers, and then we won't even know who they are. So that's what scares me the most. Yeah.
I just wanted to thank you because you can articulate this stuff a lot better than I could.
You're welcome. Well, I'm paid to.
You know, and I'm not,
And I live it every day. Thanks, Tim.
Rhonda, go ahead.
No, Commissioner Sauer nailed it on the head. It's as much headache as this creates on the provider side. Central Wellness is very cognizant of the nightmare it creates on our user side. And when people who are struggling have to go through intake and different applications and start from the beginning over and over again, they feel lost in the process. And that's Tim and I learn, not being in the business, but we're very fortunate to be certified that we are.
Yeah, I'll take the Matt Clinic that we did as an example. You know, in 2014, when we had a host of citizens dying in Benzie County, no one was willing to come to Benzie County to provide that service because they couldn't make money on it. So our organization and our board decided to do it, even though that's not our bailiwick. We didn't know what we were doing. So we learned real quick, did it well, found other providers. Now there's a provider network. There's like 4 different providers now. And so now we're able to take the substance use health home and elevate our stature in coordinating all of that. So if this was in place, we wouldn't have had that ability.
Any other questions or comments? Christie?
So again, excuse me, I'm new.
Mhm.
So I think what I'm understanding is that, case management, that's kind of where you goal and whatnot and say, these are the services and these are the things. And then if you're also the service provider, you become, it's a conflict of interest, correct?
Right.
And maybe this is an obvious question, but then, you know, do you already have something in place where you mitigate some of that?
Yes, we've had that for about 20 years. It's offering choice. If someone wants to fire our service provider, we have to try to find someone else. Yeah, there's a whole host of things, second appeals, second opinions. There's a whole bunch of stuff that some of which is already statutorily required, some of which has been built into the system over the last 20 years.
And so
So-
that's how you've been able to get these waivers in the past, but I think what I'm hearing is that there's a crackdown and you're probably gonna have to plead your case even harder.
Yes. 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 There's a whole new crop of people at the state level who don't understand the history. I've been around long enough to have lived through it, and trying to explain it to them. They're having a hard time with the notion that we're a public system. They're trying to treat us as if we're a private system. And we are, by statute, the service arm of the state of Michigan. They created us because they didn't want to have to deal with the risk and liability of working with people. We're the go-between. And so now they're beginning to break that down. I see it as a huge risk exposure to the state. We've tried to explain that to them numerous times.
Couple questions regarding finances. When you talked about, you're using an example of a $2 million potential clawback for one of your peers. Because we are a 2-county agency, right?
Mhm.
How would that, if we had that situation, how would that affect us? Would there be an even split? Or is there some kind of prorata that happens?
It would depend, but generally speaking, it would be based on census.
Okay, the population.
Yeah. Yeah. In the case of Grand Traverse, I've been told that a big chunk of the funding was the use of Medicaid in the jails. In Grand Traverse in particular. So Grand Traverse may wind up disproportionately being hit as compared to Wexford or Leelanau County.
That apparently wasn't an allowable expense.
It has never been, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And when you talked about these shortfalls, almost and that there's a shortfall from the funding coming from from Lansing. But then in the same breath, you talked about the fact that the agency is $2 million in default, the money. Trying to reconcile that. If they're not sending enough money to begin with, is it because of the way they've been using the money then?
Yes, it's the way they've been allocating the funds.
Okay.
Can you speak a little bit to the DAB and TANF buckets? The moving
Uh,
from the $400 bucket, shifting over to the $50 bucket?
Yeah, so in Medicaid, we're paid on a per member per month. So anyone that's enrolled in Medicaid, we get a payment. The payment varies based on age, and there's buckets of age, 0 to 18 and so forth, 65 plus. And then TANF, which is folks who are aid to needy families, temporary aid to needy families, which is what TANF means. And that is around $50 per person. People that are DABs, those are folks that are on Social Security disability. We get anywhere from $3 to $500 a month for those individuals. There's been a computer glitch or something going on at the state level where people are falling off of, even though they have Social Security, they're falling off of this DAB and going into the $50 per month bucket, when we should be getting anywhere up to $500 or $600 to meet their needs. And there's been a shift. And so when people shift off of that and into this other bucket, they will also come off of any other entitlements that they may have that we leverage as well. Those that are in 24-hour foster care requiring 24-hour care will drop off some programs. We call them have support waivers. They're rehabilitative support waivers, and those are anywhere from 10 to 12 grand a month, depending on the disability of the person. So if they drop off out of that bucket or drop off Medicaid inadvertently, which has happened, then we're out 10 grand a month. It's a $120,000 hit. So there's a lot of that going on in the background where the legislature has appropriated $3.5 billion to the system, but only 70% of that's making its way out.
So it's not a function that the money's not available. It's a function of their system and how they're looking at the allocation. It sounds like once they make that correction, those monies should catch up with you then.
We're hoping, but we have over the last year for this HAB support waiver, they had made payments for almost a year, and we've been telling them for well over a year why it is, and they said, well, we can only go back 6 months. And we're like, no, it's your mistake. Right. So that's causing some and so the discussion actively in the region as far as funding as this year is that going to be fixed, or do I need to make cuts now? Because it's almost, we're already heading into February, right? So and those are big behemoth CMHs as far as the north goes. If you don't start making cuts now, you're going to be in trouble come September. So, and then on the short run, how they can, it basically came down to allocations with that one CMH. That's why they're in particularly stuck, because they were using Medicaid to fund programs that were enterprise activities outside of your mandate. Stuff like that I do with the jail, stuff I do with the health home, that's outside of my mandate. I don't have to do those things. The school programs, I don't have to do those things. But they're using Medicaid to supplement.
Appreciate the update.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments before we let Chip slip out of here?
He'll be back.
He'll be back.
I'll be back this afternoon.
Thanks for the update.
Yes, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for the questions.
We'll move into new business. The first item I see is for the collection event contracts for household hazardous waste. Is that right?
Yep.
Want to jump in?
Yep, Dave Schaefer is here today to answer any questions that are specific to household hazardous waste and electronics cleanups. In a nutshell, each year Benzie County sponsors 2 events for household hazardous waste and electronics. We then sponsor 3 events for tires, which will come at you later. We published RFPs for both of these, and then we received proposals. They went before the Materials Management Advisory Committee, and the recommendation is to move forward with ERG and BARC. ERG and BARC are the vendors we've used in the past. We've had great service from them. BARC, as you know, is local. It's over near the Chums Corner area specifically. I will ask Dave to answer any questions that the board may have, if there are any.
Is there questions for Dave?
So, Worsecki will make the recommendation that the Board of Commissioners authorizes the service agreement with ERG Environmental Services for 2, household hazardous waste collection events, and the services agreement with Bay Area Recycling for Charities for 2 electronic waste collection events, as outlined in their respective proposals included in the January 14th, 2025 packet. Communications and recommended by the Materials Management Advisory Committee with funds available in the 228 Solid Waste Fund. Such agreement subject to approval as to form by legal counsel and authorize the chair to sign.
Picked a long one.
Whew,
That's
that's it for the day.
Roll off, so support.
Bob supports. Additional comments or questions before we take the vote?
I want to compliment Evan on reading.
Some big words in there too.
I was thinking you should get paid extra on that one.
The comments that I'll have is we did put the dates in the memo. So for those in the public that are planning ahead, June 21st and August 21st will be the two events that include household hazardous waste and electronics. Those should include tires as well, but like I said, that's coming later. And then typically we do a third event, which is tires only, and we hold that in the Thompsonville area. So we'll come with that later.
This will be Frankfurt and Road Commission again.
That's where it's been in the past.
And do we know the dates, the locations that correspond with the dates? Is the first one in Frankfurt and the second one's at the Road Commission?
First be at the Frankfurt High School, and it's August 23rd would be at
23rd.
the Road Commission.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
Yep,
it's in
and then the tire is a grant-based, a scrap tire collection, and we haven't received information from Eagle as to if that will be available yet this year.
Always well attended.
Yeah, we take in a lot of tires, which you'd think at some point it'd start to trickle down, but it never does.
Well, I would like to see them. Ag tires. Oh, Travers had one. It's an issue.
Yeah,
And it's one of those big old,
I could look into that, having
that's a possibility.
yep.
Yeah.
I do know the tire, it's there's always a special board that's included in the big trailer. And it is 3 feet across. So they do take some of the bigger tires, but not the big ones like on the dualies that you're thinking of.
Possible to get rid of.
You make it into a planter.
Is that it?
So
Sandbox.
the one in Grand Traverse County isn't for Grand Traverse County residents only.
With Leelanau County, I think I got a flyer on it.
Yeah,
I like stuff close. by.
yep.
So,
Yeah, and
Okay.
they run that through the conservation district. That's also grant based, but I could look to see if we could maybe. I know some people that might be able to help out with that.
You'd have a satellite up off or something. Jump.
Yeah,
Guys, thank you.
And
any
just,
other questions?
yeah, just for the public's benefit, I worked with folks on one of those last year. People didn't even have to get out of their car. It was ran so nicely. Folks that volunteered went and popped trunk and pulled it all out and hauled it in. So if you can get it loaded up, they make it really easy. You guys make it really easy once you get there. I was very impressed.
Well, good. That was actually Katie.
Yeah,
Would have been. at the-
that was the one I froze to death at.
Is there any cost to any of this?
To the hazardous waste and electronic collections, there is. Yeah, that's a fairly big expense. In fact, there's concern that we won't have the fund, not enough funds were budgeted. We do have the funds available, but they weren't budgeted.
There any cost to the consumer?
No.
Thank you.
There's a cost to the county.
Good questions and comments. Any others? If not, we'll do roll call.
Nye,
Yes.
Roloffs,
Yes.
Sauer,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Worsakki,
Yes.
Janat,
Yes.
Markey,
Yes.
motion carried.
Dave, thanks for being available.
Thanks. Have a nice day.
Thanks, Dave.
Katie, the budget amendment?
There's a budget amendment in here for remonumentation. This was presented by County Treasurer Kelly Long. So if there's specific questions as to the what and the why, I will invite her up. This is a pretty simple budget amendment for those who may be new. The reminder is budget amendments affect the bottom line. Budget adjustments do not affect the bottom line. So you will see budget amendments throughout the budget, but you won't see budget adjustments, which are movements within the departments. This is a budget amendment because it is increasing the bottom line by $400.
I'll make.
Comments? Go ahead, Rhonda.
I would make the motion that the Board of Commissioners authorizes a budget amendment in the amount of $400 to cover expenses associated with the remonumentation contract service.
Markey will support.
Again, any questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Roloffs,
Yes.
Sauer,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Worsakki,
Yes.
Janat,
Yes.
Markey,
Yes.
Nye,
Yes.
motion carried.
Who is the sheriff? Can you handle the next one or you?
I can handle the next one. So the next one is again a budget amendment. After an audit of the 701 custodial funds, the sheriff's office and the county treasurer's office went through. It was identified there were some funding within that fund that was appropriate to move into the general fund, into the sheriff's office department. And so this budget amendment simply moves those funds from the 701 to the 101.
Very good. I'd entertain a motion.
Greg moves that the Board of Commissioners authorizes a budget amendment in the amount of $427.79 to the General Fund Sheriff's Office Department to provide for additional funds for equipment.
9 seconds.
9 seconds.
Mhm.
Questions or comments, input? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Sauer,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Worsakki.
Yes.
Janat,
Yes.
Markey,
Yes.
Nye,
Yes.
Rolas.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Duty contract for correctional recovery.
Yes, the sheriff is here to answer any questions regarding the specifics of this contract. I'll also note that Melissa White is online. She is our a representative for correctional recovery. So if there are specific questions that perhaps the sheriff or I can answer, we can admit her into the meeting to answer any questions that you may have.
Very good. Sheriff, do you want to make some comments?
Yes, correctional recovery assists us with offsite medical situations that occur with inmates. They negotiate on our behalf and get us basically a better deal, if you will, for the medical treatment that we have to provide by law to our inmates. And we've had correctional recovery for a number of years. This is a 2-year contract renewal. We have looked at, in the past, we've looked at changing companies or other avenues to get same goal that we have through them. But at the end of the day, we've circled back to the fact that they are very, very easy to deal with. They do a lot of work for us behind the scenes that we would have to do otherwise. And as you know, my staffing at the top level is limited these days, mainly the jail administrator. So I'm requesting that we continue our agreement with correctional recovery. And Melissa has a wealth of information. The parent company is out of state, but she is at our fingertips right here in Michigan, in Grand Rapids. So we never had an issue reaching out to her. All of our staff in the jail has a good rapport with her back and forth. So it's my feeling is that this is the way we need to continue our agreement, continue our business with them, because they help us immensely.
Is there anything you'd like Melissa to add before we open it up?
I don't know unless she wants to give you a brief rundown of what they actually do for us, but if she's there,
Please.
you probably are not quite
Correct.
by no fault of your own, ma'am.
Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Okay. I'm not used to Zoom, so for a while there, I wasn't sure if I was actually even in the meeting, so I didn't realize that I had to be granted and then unmute myself. So it's a pleasure to meet you guys. Yes, we've been working with Benzie County Sheriff's Office for almost 10 years now. And I do want to thank you guys for giving us the opportunity to stay, your vendor. When we first started with Benzie County Jail, the sheriff's office, they were actually paying 100% of all their medical bills. And so we were able to come in and not only do an audit to verify that the medical bills that were being paid out of county budget were in fact the responsibility of the sheriff's office, but also to make sure that you're getting the best rates, but also making sure that the county jail is the payer of last resort. I think that's my primary goal all time. It was when I started was making sure that the county jail was the payer of last resort. Because 10 years ago, the local hospitals were actually utilizing county jails as a profit center. So again, you guys are paying 100% of your bills. When I came in, not only did I verify that you were not the payer of last resort, but you guys were overpaying on your medical bills. So I ended up becoming a TPA. I'm a licensed insurance agent. I have about 15 years of experience as a licensed insurance agent. So I do make sure that we stay updated with all the laws, rules, regulations when it comes to inmate medical care. Not only do we run the inmates' claims through our system, but we make sure that we never bill the Benzie County Sheriff's Office unless we have verification that the inmate was in fact incarcerated. So we do have a checks and balance system that we operate on between the two of our systems. So the Benzie County Sheriff's Office, they have their own client portal where they upload pretty much like the verifications for any time an inmate goes for any offsite services. Once we verify that those inmates have in fact were incarcerated on those dates of service, we do identify if there's any other primary coverages or if there's something that we can assist with in getting the bill covered with another primary payer, again, making sure that the Benzie County is the payer of last resort. Additionally, there are a lot of claims that come in through the door throughout the year that we do process as a courtesy to the sheriff's office because our pricing model is set up to just bill you as a recovery fee. So the only time that we're billing the county is if we're able to save the county per claim. So if we don't identify any savings, we're not billing the county a savings fee. The savings fee is 37%. Again, it's 37% of what we save you. There's no management fees, admin fees, any other monthly fees. So for the claims that come in there's inmates that are, whether they're not in custody or maybe we get claims in for an inmate that hasn't been incarcerated in 2 years. They had the sheriff's office listed as the payer. Previously, there was a lot of issues where the hospitals were trying to mandate county jails pay for claims for these type of instances. So when we do receive those claims, we make sure that we work closely with the provider and make sure that the county jail is removed as the primary payer. We also do a follow-up to make sure that these claims aren't being sent to collections. It does remove that administrative burden from the sheriff's office. And again, we do process those claims for free. Does anyone have any questions as far as the service that we provide?
Christie?
I don't think I do that.
Melissa, I think you're pretty thorough. Nice overview.
Thank you. I always try.
Any other comments, Sheriff, that you'd like to make?
No, just that there are checks and balances and they truly do a fantastic job. Like she spoke of, if we have inmates that come in frequently and sometimes we have to, like she said, verify what times they sought medical treatment and they were actually in our custody. So that could be confusing sometimes, and hospitals will, assume things sometimes. And anyway, she does a very good job. Her company does a very thorough job for us, and we're completely happy with them.
Very good.
Do we track numbers of how much is saved by utilizing their service?
Yes, we do. Melissa, I don't know.
I have it pulled up. So so I meet with Benzie County Sheriff's Office every quarter. So every quarter we review the report. My favorite one is the annual because I always like to see the entire year in review. Looking at your annual savings report for the last fiscal year, we received 29 claims in the door. So we were billed for 29 claims. However, they were only invoiced for 27 of those claims because 2 of those claims, they were not in custody. So we had to work with the provider to have those removed. But out of those 29 claims, the original billed amount, which is the claims that came straight to us, we make sure that the hospital doesn't do any adjustments or add any discounts from billing it to us because it allows you guys to see what was actually billed for the financial auditing purposes. So the original billed amount of those 29 claims, it was $109,638.60. Out of that billed amount, Benzie County Jail paid $22,323.35. So it saved $87,315.33. So it was about almost an 80% savings on the claims that came in.
Thanks for asking the question, Rhonda. Makes all this decision easier. I'd entertain a motion. Don't be shy.
Sauer will make the motion that the Board of Commissioners authorizes an asset recovery and management services renewal agreement with Corrections Recovery LLC for the services related to inmate medical needs for a period of 24 months with funds available in the 213 jail fund. Such agreement subject to approval as it's formed by legal counsel and authorizes the chair and the sheriff to sign.
Mark, you'll support. One last chance for questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Craig,
Yes.
Worsakki,
Yes.
Janat,
Yes.
Markey,
Yes.
Nye,
Yes.
Roloff,
Yes.
Sauer,
Yes.
motion carried.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, board. Appreciate it.
Still pulling up the next item. You want to take that?
Yep. So the next item, I consider phase 2 of our outdoor campus lighting. You will note the much brighter lights that are around this building that were installed just this last fall, just before the election, and the staff had a really good response to those increased lighting. We then looked at doing the rest of the campus, so around the sheriff's office area there near animal control. The proposal was brought to the Buildings and Grounds Subcommittee from Blue Water Electric, which is who installed the first set of lights. We did reach out to other electrical companies to invite them to give us a number to do the additional lights, and there was no response to that. And so because of that, the Buildings and Grounds Subcommittee recommended moving forward with Blue Water Electric. What this does is it replaces the top. It doesn't replace the whole pole. The poles are still good, so we're reusing the poles and we're putting new tops on the poles. So that is quite the cost saver there. So this proposal in front of you is for 21 additional lights around that half of the campus to kind of mirror and match what we did on this half of the campus.
And the members of that Buildings and Ground is Rhonda, Tim, and Bob, correct?
Correct.
Any questions for that group? Or anything you'd like to add to the presentation?
I would just note it's extremely important to us to have multiple bids and made sure that, you know, extra effort was given to have those in hand. But at the end of the day, you need to move forward at some, and a great effort was given to have competing bids. There were just get them. So
Other comments or questions? And I would, go ahead, please, Gary.
When you did the parking lot here, did you have any competitive bids at that time?
That one, so we went out and sought proposals on that one for over 9 months, trying to get people to respond to that one. Multiple times by multiple folks. And we were unsuccessful at that time. We did, I believe, get one other bid at that time, if I remember correctly, but it was much higher than Blue Water Electric. And then this time I personally reached out to other companies. It's the nature of the game, I think, in a lot of ways right now.
Everybody's busy. They take what they want to deal with, so.
Yes.
And I know Blue One. Yeah.
And they did this half of the campus. So we were all very happy with the work they did. I know Tammy was really happy on election day.
I
Was
was
much
driving
better.
by at night, it's a lot brighter.
So we did go through the proper hoops with Benzonia Township as far as submitting our plans and such. For that, I know there was a observation from a person passerby that said it was, you know, kind of bright and it caught them off guard in driving. And we talked through that too. And I think just the mere fact that we have lights now catches people off guard because our lights before were quite dim. But we did submit things to Jason Barnard regarding the lighting. So
You didn't have a dark sky issue, right?
no, yeah.
From a public trust standpoint, public that's tried to get contracting done is understanding it's hard to get people in.
Mhm.
But as we move forward, we need to better understand. Just Gary, to your point, when they're busy, oftentimes they'll, I'll submit a bid, but I'm gonna put a premium on it.
Yeah.
Right.
And at least I'm submitting a bid. We aren't even getting anybody to submit bids, which is a little concerning.
I do think the temperature of some of that's going to change, not from a societal standpoint, but from a staffing standpoint with Benzie County. I do think that the temperature of folks submitting bids to Benzie County is going to change.
Well, I know that the committee does a lot of due diligence to make that happen. I just want to make sure the record reflects that it was more than just a passing effort.
Oh, yeah. No, we tried.
I'd entertain a motion.
Mark can make the motion. The Board of Commissioners approves the proposal dated December 12, 2024 from Blue Water Electric complete phase 2 of the campus lighting project. The not to exceed amount of $16,064.
19,000.
19,000.
19,000.
It says
That's
in
a
the
big
motion
difference.
19.
With the funds available in the 401 Capital Projects Fund as recommended by the Buildings and Grounds.
Full off support.
I've got the support.
I just have a question. Is this going to be LED lights?
Yeah, they are supposed to be LED. That's my understanding. Although I have my concerns about LED because we change a lot of light bulbs because of that. But we follow the standards.
Which is interesting because they're supposed to have a longer life.
Yeah, but they really don't, actually. If you look at the life of them, they don't have a longer life. So we find ourselves changing light bulbs more often because of it.
Other questions or comments?
Yeah. we do.
Hearing none, roll call, please.
Worsakki,
Yes.
Janat,
Yes.
Markey,
Yes.
Nye,
Yes.
Roloff.
Yes.
Sauer,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
motion carried.
Katie?
So the next one in your packet is to schedule a public hearing for a CDBG revolving loan grant or application. As you know, Venture North works with Benzie County to manage those funds. And Laura Galbraith was here, gosh, a few months ago now, giving a report that there's about $100,000 left in that fund. We have a pending application from Beulah Outdoors for just about half of the funds that are left. And so this is to schedule the public hearing for that application, which is part of the process. Chair Janat and I will also be meeting as the loan committee later this week to hear from the applicant specifically. And then the applicant as well as Venture North are both invited to the public hearing on the 28th.
So Katie, if you would, because I just became aware of the process. I know that you and Bob have been through this, probably not a lot because there hasn't been that many submissions.
Yeah.
But for the benefit of the board and the public, explain why it's just you and I that are sitting in on a discussion.
So I don't know why it's just you and I.
Oh.
My understanding is that, prior to me, Mitch and Bob would sit through those, loan application committee meetings. And then I just filled in the role after Mitch left, but we've had only one in 4 years. So,
So I did talk to Venture North, and the response that I got is that there's a lot of sensitive information that you may have gotten, just the two of you, that generally they do not make available to the public. And so when they present to us, we're not even getting a full look as a commissioners
mhm.
of what those financials may look like. They've already been vetted through a loan committee that I understand has the expertise to do that. But that's how it's limited to the county administrator and the chair. And that is Venture North's, that's the way they process for every county, not just our own. And this has to do with the fact that they're still loaning our funds.
Mhm,
Once they become regional funds, I don't believe that'll happen any longer.
probably not.
Do I understand correctly that this offers a desirable interest rate, but there are also requirements of you have to have full-time employees, a certain amount of full-time employees to be approved?
It's the right question to ask. Do you want to answer that or?
Yeah, so every application is specific into what the requirements are. And so Yes, employees is part of it, full-time employees, but I do believe part-time employees also is factored into the equation because it's jobs is the big thing, jobs and job retention and such, and investment into the community. And so, yes, there is requirements like jobs, whether it's part-time, full-time, and retention of those jobs. They have to maintain the position for a period of time as agreed, part of this whole project. But they're all very specific. They're not all just the same. Like, it's not everybody has to give 3 jobs. You know, there may be one that's just 1 additional job, and then there may be another one that's 4 or 5 additional jobs. There's a whole metrics as to how much money you're looking to gain from them. And in response to that amount of money, there are certain requirements that are needed to get that amount of money.
Can you
So it-
share what the interest rate is, or is that between the
Yeah.
borrower and the lender?
I don't actually have that information. I can tell you though, from a job standpoint,
While you're looking that up, Katie, I will add to it, it's $35,000. You can get up to 35,000 for each in job you create. And it has to be maintained, I believe, for a 2-year period.
so this application is committing to 2 positions, 2 jobs in Benzie County.
And this is the money that the EDC used to oversee through their revolving loan fund that started back in the mid-80s. And then we transferred, as this group here, we transferred it to Venture North for management. Quite frankly, they do a much better job underwriting these than we did locally. They have the skill sets to do it. They're looking at more of them. So this is the right place to be. After this loan request, assuming it's approved, I think we have
61,000 left.
161,000 left. So when it gets repaid, it goes back into the regional fund. But right now, we still have about 125, but after this request, I think it's about 61, you said, so.
Yeah, so right now, this money is specific to those wanting to do business in Benzie County. But then when it goes into that regional fund, it's kind of, it's divvied up to all the players. So it's not just committed to Benzie County. So we'll have about, if this is approved, there's about 61,000 left committed to Benzie County business.
Appreciate it. I'd look for a motion.
Trig moves that the Board of Commissioners set a public hearing for Tuesday, January 28th at 2025 at 9:30 a.m. to hear comments related to an application for Community Development Block Grant revolving loan funds from View Outdoors LLC.
Thank you. Support?
Mark, will support.
Thank you. Questions or comments before we move? Roll call, please.
Not,
Yes.
Markey,
Yes.
Nye,
Yes.
Roloffs,
Yes.
Sauer,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Worsakki.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Back to you, Katie.
Yeah, I will invite Corey Ellis up on this one. This is computer aided dispatch integration with the Michigan State Police CAD, as many of you commonly hear it referred as. This is an agreement to outline the responsibilities of not only us, but the Michigan State Police when it comes to sharing information for emergency purposes.
So yeah, just high level, Corey Ellis, 911 director. Just on a high level, this is something that's been in works before me. COVID kind of slowed some things down, and then our technology situation slowed some things down. So we're back in a position now where we're ready to move forward with it. What this provides Benzie County as a benefit is the ability to know where the troopers are in our county. When we have calls for service that we need to assign out, we know where the troopers are. Right now, we don't have that information readily available. We have to ask them for it. So it just creates another step in the process. In exchange for that, they will be able to see our CAD information, any calls that are waiting to be assigned, any active calls, our previous call history at certain addresses, any alerts that are attached to an address. So there's really a big benefit on both sides of it.
You will know in the motion, there is a blank. It has been requested that Corey Ellis be given the permission to sign this agreement specifically. And I did leave that blank because it is the board's discretion if that permission is given to Corey or if it remains with the chair, who is the one person allowed to sign contracts.
Bob, if I remember right, you're currently the liaison to Central Dispatch.
Yes.
Any comments you want to make on this?
I don't think so. No, this time.
Then we'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, or Worsakki will make a motion that the Board of Commissioners authorizes a memorandum of agreement with the Michigan Department of State Police for integration of the computer-aided dispatch system to enhance communications during emergency events. Agreement subject to approval as to its form by legal counsel and authorizes the
911.
911 director to sign.
Markey will support.
Again, questions, comments on this? Hearing none?
I'm gonna
Oh, go
ask,
ahead.
you know, are we setting a precedence by not having the chair sign?
We've allowed, before in the past, when 911 specific things, we've allowed that signature outside of the chair before. The attorney noted in his email that he doesn't see an issue with it. It just that duty has to be delegated officially in motion for that to happen. We've allowed it at various other times. Sometimes it's appropriate and it makes sense if it's, if there's maybe sensitive or timeliness or such. I don't think we're necessarily setting a precedent. We've allowed it here and there throughout my 4 years here. There's been times when you've delegated me to sign something instead. So you just have to delegate it per motion.
As the chair, I would say to you, even being new in this position, that as long as it's acceptable by the courts, I have no problem.
Mhm.
And that's really, really where it falls.
Yep. And so the delegation at the board level then puts that strength behind it.
Other good question. Thank you, Gary. Any other questions or comments?
I do have a question. Can you go back to the positives for both? I understand, for us in the county, we're able to see where the troopers are. And then we can call them in or whatever, right, as needed. And then can you help me out again with their positive, what their benefit was?
Sure. So for the state police right now, they cannot see any of our active calls in our CAD system, which is something that gets sent down to the patrol cars. They can see all the information for that call. There could be safety alerts attached to that address, prior calls added. They don't see any of that right now. So in order for them to get that information, they have to ask for it on the radio. And then there's this back and forth of what are they asking for? Then we have to give it to them. Then they might ask for something else. Whereas we can streamline that for them.
I see. It's safety on both sides, right?
Yes,
For you to
absolutely.
have the backup and then for them to have all the information when they go into a call so that they don't get blindsided by something.
Yes, yep.
Very
It
good.
also allows them as they're handling any calls or doing the report side of things, they can see a history maybe involved in that. Whereas right now, if they want that, they have to come into dispatch and ask us to print it for them. We can remove that completely. They're going to get the information anyway. We can just remove the man-hour part of it of dispatch doing it and they can just access it themselves.
Good questions. Anything else? If not, roll call.
Markey,
Yes.
Knight,
Yes.
Roloff.
Yes.
Sauer,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Worsakki,
Yes.
Janai,
Yes.
motion carried.
Thank you.
Katie, are you taking this one or is the sheriff?
We probably both can. In your packet is a request for two things. One, to establish a formal detachment of the Michigan State Police within your building. The other one is to allow for the newly designated resident troopers of Benzie County to utilize our employee fitness center. So both of those requests are in your packet today. Legal counsel did draft a memorandum of agreement I just received late yesterday, and so I will get that to Tammy as well as the chair to review. But it will be approved as to form by legal counsel, as the motion says, because our attorney is the one drafting that memorandum of agreement.
Oh, you got him here.
Good morning. Greg Huber's under sheriff.
I like the idea, having them here, gonna charge them for space. Can't we charge them for space?
That was not the intent of the.
I know that was not
relationship.
the intent. They were over in honor, correct? Or is this?
They were
Is
over an
that
honor.
what it's about?
At one point, they were over an honor and that they have dissolved the honor detachment and moved their equipment out of there. The state police is providing us in return for the space. We have 2 troopers dedicated to the county. It is like having 2 more deputies because they're working out of our office. They're able to respond. Their shifts have been designed so that they overlap our shift change. So not everybody is checking out and checking in at 5 o'clock. They have designed their shifts so they overlap and go until 7, so there's somebody available at all time. The service that they provide and the people that they provided are excellent. First Lieutenant Roger Craig, the new post commander at the Traverse City Post, did interviews statewide, posted the position statewide, and picked the 2 best people that he could, and they really are. One of them we're very familiar with, who used to be employed by us, Trooper Ryan Sass, will be designated to be the Benzie County resident trooper. And another one that I know personally, Trooper Justin Lydak, whose father is also in the department. Both of them, we couldn't have picked better people. So the service they're providing, I don't want to impede that by charging them rent or anything else. I think it's a very fair trade, Gary.
The only reason I'm bringing it up is they're gonna use our facility. Stuff like that. I'm not trying to, I understand, I give them the place. But I'm trying to figure out what happened in Honor. Was there a charge to use that facility?
I'm not familiar with the logistics on that. I think that, Tim, can you, Commissioner Murphy,
can
can you help
actually.
out on that?
Homestead Township actually charged, I think, Michigan State Police $900 a year to rent that, or at least that space. So, thing is, they weren't there a lot. I think it was just a convenience thing. They do a lot of work out of their cars. They interact with the deputies. They weren't using the space, I think is what it comes down to.
I have no problem with, and I'm just asking. Oh.
Sure. No, I understand. Thank you, Commissioner Sauer. Are there any other questions, ma'am?
Yes, I do have a question. So when you say Benzie County resident troopers, you mean that these troopers reside in Benzie County? Their homes are here? Or is it that they are assigned to Benzie County?
They are assigned to Benzie County. They also have, the post commander has said that they must live within 30 miles of our building. Which means that they're not coming from far, far away. And they have to do that within 6 months of being transferred. So they're both trying to find housing right in this general area right now. But both are moving from different locations, one from Brighton and one from, I know you're happy about that, Commissioner, and I'm very happy about Trooper Sass too. So both of them will be in the area. One's from Gaylord and one's from Brighton, or that's where we're residing. And they'll be moving to Benzie County.
Other questions?
Quickly, looking at.
Frankly, they are here now and they're signed here now. And we're just looking for approval for the space to have them. We have a small office space for them. They've brought in their own computers, their own desks, and their own little state police sign.
Yeah, that answers that. Sauer will make the motion that the Board of Commissioners authorizes a memorandum of agreement. Michigan Department of State Police for establishment of a detachment post and allows the use of on-site fitness center requiring signed liability waivers. Agreement subject to approval as it is,
As to its form.
as to its form by legal. You gotta quit adding all these big words. By legal counsel and authorizes the chair and the sheriff to sign.
Roll out with support.
Just a comment, if I could, 2 comments. One is, I would think there's a benefit to having them here because the communication probably is improved.
That is correct.
And the office space that they're taking, did we have to displace anybody in order to provide office space for them?
We did not. You took care of that for us.
Leave it just at that. would you please?
So I would like to call out specifically the Employee Fitness Center, not to be the Debbie Downer and the white elephant of the room, but you had lengthy conversation about that fitness center, and we did kick out a lot of non-employees when that all went down. So I want you to think thoughtfully about that. It would be part of the agreement, so that's the protection and that's your response when others maybe want to use our employee gym. that we have a contractual relationship with MSP for this use. But I want you to be thinking about that because I think our conversation that day was 45 minutes long, all about a gym.
I'm glad you mentioned that. If I could address that. So Katie and I had spoken and Greg, if you don't mind me addressing you by your first name, you and I had spoken about that. We specifically asked our legal counsel to build this into the document rather than having being something different. And I guess the position that I came to was that they're physically located there.
Correct.
And that is a difference from like someone from Wexford County or Frankfurt that wants to use it because they're not physically located in the building. Do you want to comment on this at all?
I think that that's very appropriate, Mr. Chair, and I also think that we are inviting them into our house, but we are using them really as 2 additional deputies. And if we invite them into their house, it's very difficult to say that you can use this bathroom, but that's not this bathroom or this part of our facility and not this part of our facility.
I do want to acknowledge, I'm sorry, Gary, but Katie, I want to acknowledge the fact that you're trying to keep us on track and consistent.
Correct.
Okay, I get what you're trying to accomplish. Gary, you want to say
I
something?
wanted Evan to comment. He was very staunch on.
Yeah, I agree with Art. I mean, they're in our building, they work with us hand in hand, and we have a contract that they're here and they're part of the team.
Yes.
Does the memorandum of understanding address the gym then?
It's
And the
going
way-
to.
It
Yep.
will, okay, because we have not seen that document yet.
I have
So-
not either.
I got it at 4:15
Sure.
yesterday,
No,
so.
understood.
Yeah, so I asked Cole Stoker to prepare the document to include that usage of the fitness center as part of that contractual relationship. But then that's a strong standing because it was a touchy subject. And there was a lot of falling out from staff members and others about that decision that was made by you. So I want you to, remember that because based on this, I want you to be prepared for some reason if there's something in the future that comes up or, any sort of backlash from that. Because you spent a great deal on that decision.
Well, we were very definitive about this as an
Yes.
employee benefit
Correct.
and opening the door to anything else. We want to ensure that it doesn't create a slippery slope.
Correct.
So as long as the document that we're going to put in place
Yep.
prevents that from happening, we want our team in the best shape they can be in.
Yep, and that's the intent of the document is to secure your decision.
I did also speak to Matt directly on this too. For the same concerns everybody's citing here, and I'll repeat myself, the way that we differentiate this is that they're physically here and they're using the rest of our facility.
Yes.
So, Matt, and I want to acknowledge Matt, quite frankly, we thought it'd be a couple weeks before we'd see something
I got it at 4:15.
and boom, it's here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'll send it off.
Additional comments or questions before we call for the vote? Roll call, please.
Knight,
Yes.
Roloff,
Yes.
Sauer,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Worsakki.
Yes.
You're not,
Yes.
Markey,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, thank you
Thanks.
very much.
Thank you.
Question. Have both officers secured housing within 30 miles?
One in Trooper Lidak is working on it. He lives up in the Gaylord area right now. And he's staying with his parents in Kingsley. And I believe that Trooper Sass may be staying with his parents.
That's 30?
I think it's 30. I don't know where his parents are.
It seemed like a short perimeter required.
It was
You have the
20
lake kinda
miles of
like
the city.
Barrenbury, some
Yeah,
of
I
your
live within 20
options.
miles.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you all.
It's the crow flies.
Oh,
That's what it's.
Katie, you have a document in here outlining some of their accomplishments for 2024.
Mhm.
Do you want to take a few minutes to touch on that?
Sure. So in your packet, I included a 2-page document, and by no means is this all encompassing or meant to, have missed something. But in your document, it's just some of the things that as a board and as a county, we've done in the last year, 12 months. So there's 34 items listed. We could have listed more. I could have had each department give a list as well, because we've done a lot of good work here in Benzie County. The staff has done a lot of good work, and so have you. So I just created that list in there for you. You can, we can go over it line by line. You can use it as you go to your townships if you'd like. But again, it's not all encompassing, but you should be really proud of the work you're doing as a board to improve Benzie County as a whole.
I'm glad we're taking the time to stress this. I hope this finds its way to the media,
I think Colin's probably on. He usually is.
all right? Because it's, even if they just want to piecemeal it, I think some of these things are pretty important. Does anybody want to make any comments? I know you've had a chance to read it already. Any insights or comments?
I would just request, could we get some copies to take to our meetings?
Yeah,
Are we leave today?
yeah.
Anybody else?
Thanks for doing it.
I
It's a good
probably missed
perspective,
things, but I thought that was a fairly decent list.
I'm glad we're taking the time to celebrate some of these, even as modest as we are doing it. I think we've done a better job of celebrating with the employees, their accomplishments. We see that now happening in the sheriff's office. This is just one more way to communicate to the public what's positive happening, because unfortunately, usually it's the negative stuff that hits the papers.
Yeah.
So we're at 10:25. Does anybody need a break? Let's take 5. We'll come back at 10:30.
You're unmuted. Oh, although Tim's not back.
Okay, it's 10:32. We're gonna come back in session. And the next thing to talk about is the proposed commissioner appointments. Before we get into this, and as much for the public's benefit as anything, I sat down with Rhonda and Katie, and we looked at the committees that we're currently assigning to. We talked about the number of committees, meetings that we attend and how the commissioners best use their time, as well as the cost of doing these things. And what do we get? What kind of real benefit do we get from that? This is all open for discussion. I'm not trying to be a dictator here, but we've identified 13 committees that we are not required to attend either by state statute for our bylaws, state statute for the agency's bylaws, or it's simply on a discretionary basis. And I would touch base with you on these. By the way, some of them are dormant anyway. Just going down the list, the building authority. Well, in fact, Katie, I think you've outlined it for us, haven't you?
I think I did. I did
Yeah.
some strike throughs.
Aligned them through.
Okay, so I'm gonna read off my paper, and Katie, if I miss something, stop me,
Yeah,
okay?
let me just get to it.
So the building authority, the conservation district, the Maples, the road commission,
Changes.
human services collaborative, airport authority, and by the way, I'll come back and explain some of these in a moment. The Benzer Senior Resources, Betsy Valley Watershed, Domestic Violence Task Force, Land Bank Authority, the Michigan Association of Counties Environment has been merged with another committee there, so they're down to just 5 now. Platte River Watershed, Point Betsy Lighthouse, and our newest one, the Watershed Coalition, that we just brought in late last year. Some of these, some of these meetings we can address by having someone from their leadership group come in once, twice, 4 times a year. And I did touch base unofficially with a couple of them, and their response was not a problem. Some of them are already coming to us with regularity, and I'll use Benzie Senior Resources as my example. We get a full packet, almost overwhelmingly so, every month from them, and they choose to show up here. Some of them we may have to touch base with, and by invitation, I'm asking them to report to us 2 to 4 times a year. Some of them, if we want to be honest with ourselves, I'm not sure if they really care we're there. These are a group of volunteers that come in for a very specific reason. And what's happening at the county level, I'm sure they're interested in, but when they're gathering together as their committee, they're there for that committee purpose and pretty much nothing else. So before I move further, I would like to have some conversation on those recommendations coming from the 3 of us. Rhonda, did I miss anything you want to add?
No, I don't think this, I don't think the opportunity to remove some of these should be considered that we aren't interested in the topics. I very much think that the things that go on in the county and the volunteer effort, we have to emphasize how much we recognize that and appreciate that and want to be informed. But at the end of the day, should we be attending these meetings or should we be accepting reports from these committees or hearing directly from the committees what their actions are when they feel it's time for us to be informed? I was in support of.
Katie, anything you want to add from our discussion?
You know, kind of the same thing. There's a lot of these where they should come to us. It makes sense. Or even staff, you know, is already attending and staff is giving updates at some of these. And so, you know, good business to me is don't attend unless you're attending on behalf of your private citizen. I mean, you can go, anybody can go to these committee meetings. Well, almost all of them are public. You know, I don't think it should be a requirement per se.
And what this does do also is that there is no worry about a quorum at a meeting. You're part of the public. You could have 4 or 5 people there from the commission. Because we're not in a decision-making role. We're not in violation of OMA. Katie, I did see something. I had asked you about checking into the Benzie Transportation Authority to determine whether there was anything in their bylaws or ours that required it. Did you have an opportunity to do that?
Yes, we talked about that. So the articles of incorporation of when the Benzie County and the others in the community created that authority required that a commissioner be there, as well as the bylaws of the BTA require that you be there. It does specifically say you have no voting authority, no say, you're not part of the board, but it does say that a commissioner shall act as a liaison within the articles of incorporation as well as the bylaws. So that is why that one's still on the list. In an advisory nature because of that requirement.
Thank you.
And I do.
No, please, I'm
I
opening
do
it up.
sit on the executive committee, also the Benzie.
That's great.
Us, and we do I do get a vote in that committee.
Oh.
Oh. Kind of a big
And I
deal.
would add, I
Kind of a big
approached my
deal.
commissioner report, today, much like I will in the future, listing the meetings that I am assigned to report on, and then the unassigned, because I attended, since the last meeting, 2 meetings that I wasn't assigned to. But I would like to report on my takeaways from those meetings. So,
Mhm.
and I personally will likely continue to attend the ones I've attended in the past. I have great interest in what they do. And, so, but that would be left up to every individual commissioner, whether or not you want to continue to attend those you aren't assigned.
So Chrissy, I'm gonna come back to you because you're the newest, but Bob, any thoughts on this?
So I had a couple conversations about this. One of my concerns is if we're engaged and have a financial interest, I think we need a place at the table. I honestly do. Maples is a perfect example. The last renewal for the bond, my name is on it. I think somebody from this board should have a seat at the Maples.
Okay, fair statement to make. I will tell you though that our obligation to the Maples is to the physical facility, not the operation.
Good.
So and we're gonna take that into consideration. Any individual
So,
comment?
and I'll follow up with one more. Troy's here. I've known people that have been on the road commission board, so to speak, or representatives from the public. And I think it's important to have that collaboration with the people that are doing work for us in the county.
Okay. And again, the process behind that was that their board is voted in by the public.
Yep.
They are completely independent of the Board of Commissioners. And we're attending 2 meetings a month there. So that was kind of the rationale behind that. I am not dismissing anything you're saying. We're gonna come back to both of those.
Good.
Okay. Any other comments, Bob? Evan?
No.
Tim?
Even though I've had some other depth conversations about stuff. I actually did talk to one of the organizations. And they very much liked having a county commissioner participate, even though not by statute or requirement, and the county commissioner has no voting rights on their board or group. Do we have to be there? Does it give them a benefit? I think it does. Yes, they can come here and get that information on their own. But if I'm there or a commissioner's there, they have that ability. It could be by request, maybe, if they would like to have one of us there. Instead of just saying no. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. And do you want to get to the ones that we taken off, or you want to discuss the assignments and so?
I just want to talk about the ones I'm proposing we remove.
That's all I got.
All right. And can I assume you're talking about Benzie Senior Resources?
You can.
Rhonda? You want to add anything?
Close the
Do
document.
I want to add anything?
Close the document.
No, I
please.
just think there's a way to share information. You have a point?
It's got my document open. I need him to close it.
I get
I do think we can put other systems in place. I don't think necessarily having a commissioner in a meeting, although it's, some entities may like it. Senior Resources shares an amazing amount of information. We could get into reciprocal relationships with sharing minutes, things like that, that are included in our packet. I would assume that the Road Commission provides minutes for each of their meeting. I don't see those. Perhaps they should be in our packet. That would keep all of us informed with what's going on. And perhaps they could commit to a quarterly visit to keep it. I mean, our information is online. People want to know, we've tried to be very transparent, very forthcoming with what we do here as a county. I don't think attending a meeting and giving a 3-minute commissioner report on what happened at the last meeting will give them more information than it would looking at our minutes or viewing the meeting, which everyone is able to do. That's my 2 cents.
Gary, I'm gonna come back to you. Haven't you had another thought?
Again, I just, I'm assuming you've done this, but I'll ask, have you, with the meetings that you have taken off, have you put down the amount of money it saves the taxpayer? From, for the per diem and the mileage, like what we're gonna save throughout the year, not going to those meetings?
With the per diems, I use $50 a
Mhm.
meeting. On average, it'd be about $750 per commissioner. That does not include mileage.
And mileage was just increased to 70 cents a mile, so it would be substantial. I had not done the calculation, but I wanted to make the comment of the thing to focus here is anyone can still go to these meetings. You just would not be entitled to a per diem. That's kind of the big thing here is you can still go. It just wouldn't be a per diem eligible activity per se.
The exception would be, and I'm just thinking about this now, because it was mentioned, if you're being asked to attend that meeting.
Right.
Now you're being asked in an official capacity, and I think that they should be paid to attend that.
Yep, and that's how the rules and policies state. So if you were to request somebody to go, then it's official capacity, but just to attend on your own is not per diem eligible.
So Gary, you carry a bulk of the meetings. Give me your
Yeah, I hear
thoughts.
that all the time.
Well, listen, quite
Um,
frankly, I applaud you for it. You have the time and you're willing to do it.
And I'm more than willing to do it. Some of this stuff I wish you'd have reached out to the entities themselves. You have Troy here, you can ask him when I get done spewing. One of them that really stands out to me is the airport authority. I think we need an individual that's on our board as a voting member of that group, period. Because of what's happened in the past, and what continues to go forward. And if we don't have hands on there, we miss a lot of things. And by the same token, we need to be available to these entities if they have questions for us. It doesn't always go that way, but that to me is part of this job. Part of this job is public relation, one way or another. So, yes, it's your call. You guys are in charge. I will do whatever is necessary. But we're trying to save a buck. When we go a little farther someday and you ask what's my idea on how to save, what kind of projects I'd like to see done in this county or what kind of things we'd like to, we'll discuss that later. Because I'm sure people will be happy to hear me. Anyway, so, I don't have a problem with what you're doing. Some of them, I'm glad you took off because I've been on the one for probably 10 years and I've never had a meeting, so I don't know what value that thing was, and that's the watershed. Whatever it was, Betsy River, yeah. Watershed thing or something, and there was one for Platte River too.
Platte River actually started meeting.
You have had one? They did the project over there, is that
Actually, it's ongoing.
is
They've
ongoing?
had a few meetings now.
Wow.
But, I understand saving money. But I also understand availability of commissioners, because you are the voice and you are the of the community. So anyway,
So I'd like to respond to a couple of things you said.
Okay.
First, I talked to a couple of agencies, and the reason why I limited it to that was because I didn't think that I should go to them before decisions have actually been made.
okay.
I thought there was a couple of them that I felt comfortable with because of my relationships, and I said, just tell me how you'd react to this. To Tim's comment, Benny Senior, Senior Resources, we love it when the commissioner comes. Quite frankly, the taxpayers provide a significant amount of money to them to operate with. So I understood all of that. But we have, and this is on the very low side, not counting your townships, villages, and city, we attended over 500 meetings last year. And if you call surrounding counties, they're like, wow, nobody attends those kind of meetings. So what I would rather do, and what you would learn, is instead of using your time to attend meetings that we may or may not get benefit from, as you're going to find out this afternoon, we want to identify some opportunity where we can move some things forward. And we're going to ask you to commit yourself in time to move these things forward. Rather than just attending a meeting, let's do things that move the needle. And that's the thought. The amount of money is concerning. Last year for commissioners, meeting attendances, et cetera, we spent 160,000, give or take.
A lot of money, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of money. But more importantly for me, it's about the amount of time. Katie, I come back to you. I know you want to say something, but Christy, now that you've heard everybody else's thoughts, do you want to weigh in on this?
Sure. Yeah, so as somebody who has a job, I appreciate, truncating a little bit. However, as a new commissioner, I feel like there are some on these that I need to make a relationship with, and I need to go and somehow have that communication. I can think of, for instance, things that are in my jurisdiction would be the Maples, the Airport Authority, Betsy Lighthouse, those kinds of things. I think if we go forward with this, what I'm going to have to do is, I'm quickly thinking is, meet with those, maybe do go to some meetings and then say, okay, share with your meeting minutes with me, or call me when I need to come and weigh in on something. It's kind of how I'm thinking.
And as it was already said by Rhonda, there's nothing to prevent any of us to attend any meeting, even if there's multiples of commissioners there. If there's a subject that you want to learn, or maybe you just want to learn more about the agency.
And that makes a little bit of sense too, because sometimes when certain, and again, I'm new, I haven't done any of this, right? When certain commissioners are assigned to certain things, I might feel a little bit, oh, well, that's so-and-so's committee, and it's going to feel like I'm usurping their authority or whatever. And so I see both sides, but
Yeah.
I'm willing to give it a try.
And you could then very easily attend the meetings without feeling like.
Right,
you're
I'm stepping on
circumspect.
somebody's toes.
And when we talked about the Maples as an example, Bob, I believe that 5 or 8 years ago, we definitely needed to be there. But that's a machine now that's just running. It's running smooth. They're working towards their objectives. There's not a lot of crisis happening there. When we talk about the Airport Authority, how long has the airport been around? We're talking decades.
The
Longer
mid-90s.
than we wanted to be on it.
Well, before the mid-90s even. The history of this, I think, goes back to the 30s.
Yeah, the authority was the 90s.
Okay. And in that time, we have one period where it was a crisis because there wasn't the right communication. Reminds me of our discussion about the health department. For 25 years, the health department ran fine. We run into COVID, whole thing blows up. So it's not like there's a constant problem. And I did talk to the airport authority. And because we don't have that active voice right now, which by the way, we're working towards, okay. They said, I'll come 4 times a year if you want. And they're already, I think, working with Katie about getting on the calendar.
Yep.
Katie, you wanted to add to this conversation? Do you remember?
Yeah, so I was just gonna say, Gary, you made the comment about it's your decision and, technically a majority of the board can overrule the chair's decision. So if there was a majority of this board who said, no, we're keeping all the committees, it would stand as is. So it's not just Art's decision and Rhonda's decision. The majority of the board can overrule if that's what you so choose. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you.
I would have guessed that anyway.
Okay. You just made it sound like he had the end all say all.
I'm looking at more
don't?
at the management end of well, there you go.
I'll check him.
Because I'd much rather go with the recommendation. Because that's the leadership of this board that I'd like. Have it.
There was 3 of them that were pointed out specifically, the Maples, Senior Resources, and the Road Commission. Guys, life is all about compromise. We identified 13 initially. If we got to 10, that's a big step forward. But what I'd like to suggest is that we try this, and I'm willing to come back in 6 months and say, look, does this seem to be working or not working? I have no objection to that. But piecemealing this for the process of going through this meeting right now, the ones that have been recommended by Katie, Rhonda, and myself, by consensus, is there going to be any objection? All right, let's move into the assignments then. There's been a couple of corrections. Can you point those out? Because I'm not sure I remember.
So the one that was specific that we can talk about is the Central Dispatch Advisory Committee. We knew that Commissioner Warsecki was interested in that, but given the time of day of when that meets, Warsecki is unable to attend that meeting. And so we were going to talk today about who would like to attend that meeting.
Commissioner Roloffs has agreed to continue on at this point.
Okay, perfect. I'll just mark
Thank
that.
you, Bob.
It's because they moved from 3:30 to 2.
Actually, it was misstated.
Mhm.
Katie
So were
wouldn't have
they-
known this, but
Oh.
it's every other month.
Mhm.
And it's at, what time did you say, 2?
2
Two.
now.
Yeah.
When I was shown interest, it was 3:30.
Well, actually, that was a misprint.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So,
What else, Katie?
let me just, I'm making notes, so I need to know the changes on this document so that we can keep it up to date. So I just made that note. If there's other changes from anyone, please let us know.
And
And we
so
will make those changes.
MAC environment needs to be stricken
Yep,
and combined with ag and
ag
tourism.
tourism.
And Gary and I and Christie have had a conversation. Gary's gonna step aside for the time being, and Christie's agreed to participate. I
Right.
am going to encourage, and I think it's already happening this way, but please, those meeting in Lansing, if we can do it by Zoom, let's do it. I mean, it's a 2-hour and 45-minute to 2-hour meeting. It takes you 6 hours to come back and forth. It
Right.
doesn't really make
I
sense.
had one thing there.
Please.
Is there a way of making sure that I continue to get the agendas and stuff? Is that they're virtual, I'll watch them at home anyway. If there's something I want to see, I'd like to get involved. I don't have any problem with Christie.
We'll have to ask the MAC folks because that's really their
Yeah. I
Maybe.
just-
So I would guess that Dina and her folks would happily send you the agenda, but I don't know for sure because that's
Okay.
not
I'd
ours.
like to check it.
You- For each of the MAC assignments, you're gonna touch base with them, is that right?
Yeah, so once these are finalized today, I submit applications on your behalf to MAC to put you on those committees and then MAC approves those applications. So I will do that after today, and then we'll have to ask Dina and her folks about you being
Okay.
included on those agendas specifically. But yes, I do submit applications on your behalf.
And Christie, you had agreed to be on what used to be the Solid Waste Commission.
Yes.
The duties are expanding on that, and you're gonna learn more about that.
Yep.
But we're not gonna go through it right now because it's later in the meeting.
But
That's just-
shouldn't we if we?
No,
want to?
yeah, I was gonna bring that up. That's my next thing to bring
Yeah.
up from the list.
If you
So.
would explain what's going on there.
Yep. So, as we've talked about over the last more than 4 years than I've been here, as the state has called upon a regional or a plan update when it comes to materials management and solid waste. They've changed the name to materials management. Benzie County, about 9-10 months ago, regionalized with Grand Traverse and Leelanau to create a regional committee to then move forward with a complete plan update. At the time when that committee was established, there was one commissioner from the region on that committee, and that's TJ Andrews from Grand Traverse County. Last Friday, we did have a meeting. It was in this room, and Vice Chair Nye did attend that meeting because they are rotating between the 3 counties. TJ Andrews asked about asking the other counties to put a commissioner forward to also serve on that committee. So statute says that the committee is 11 members, and it lists specific those members, and then it allows for additional members up to 13. And TJ Andrews, they made the recommendation and approved the motion for those additional members to be a commissioner from the respective counties. And so they have asked that of Benzie County to establish that person to come to those meetings. They meet on Fridays, the 3rd Friday of the month. I think it's the 3rd, maybe it's the 2nd, at 1 p.m. and it's rotating. So it was here last Friday. It's going to be in Grand Traverse next month, Leelanau the month thereafter, back to Benzie, and so forth. We are videoing those meetings, so they are online as well, but they have asked that, you don't have to, but they have asked that the statute does allow for those additional members to be at the pleasure of the counties. And the recommendation was that it be additional commissioners.
And we want a voice at that table. And what we were thinking is it made sense if you're on the Waste Advisory Board, or now it's
Materials
Materials
Management
Management.
Advisory Committee.
it would make sense that you would also serve as the commissioner for that regional group.
I think that, yes, that's acceptable to me.
And so I do want to notate, it is the 2nd Friday of each month at 1 p.m. So I'll get you that information. So that committee is going to expand to 13 members, and I'll get that to the rest of you.
Christie, that's in addition to what's on your current schedule.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not, you got that meeting and then you've got the one that's quarterly.
Oh, there are 2.
Yes, so we have our local advisory committee
Okay.
that we've had for years. They only meet quarterly, so it's 4 to 5 times a year is all they meet. That's our local group. And then now the state has called upon a plan update of materials management, and that statute requires that we create a regional committee, which we've agreed to, and they are meeting monthly as of now. That may change when we hire a contractor to help us with the process. It may be less or more, but for now it's monthly, and that's the regional team.
Yes, that's what I assumed that
Yep.
this was that one.
Yep.
And
So
s- but I will still be on 2.
you'll be on our local one, which only meets about 4 times a year. Then you'll also serve on the regional one, representing the Board of Commissioners.
Okay.
And does that have a limited life to that committee, or is that gonna be ongoing?
So we have 3 years to rewrite the plan. And so it's at least a 3-year commitment, but once the plan is in place, we're required to carry out the plan. So the regional committee will end up probably being indefinite. But we'll reappoint every year the organizational.
Definitely, you're stuck forever.
But they won't, yeah, but they won't, and yeah, they won't meet monthly forever is not the idea.
So I also want to stress, going back, is that commissioners can attend any meeting they want when they're not in a decision-making role.
Yep.
So if you want more information on something, even though you're not assigned, you can attend. If there's a reason why you can't go, I invite you to contact a different commissioner. We used to have alternates. We don't any longer and haven't now for, I don't know, Bob, what do you think, 4 years or more?
Approximately, yeah.
And so I invite you to have somebody in your stead if you want, but I'm gonna let you make that your choice. I'd only ask that it be somebody that's, can, bring value to the meeting. My goal has always been, if I don't bring value or take value, I don't go. So, with that in mind, if we're ready, on a roll call basis, we need to adopt what we've just discussed in terms of committee assignments.
Oh, hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
Looking at the committee assignments, they're a little bit lopsided. Numbers.
Right.
And I had a thought, opportunity for Commissioner Worsacki.
Do tell.
Northwest meets quarterly at 2:00 in Traverse City. That might be right in your alley, might work with your work schedule too.
Quarterly, I could probably make that work.
And it's 2 o'clock in Traverse City. Do a patrol over there and jump in.
Yeah. It's a good one to go to. You learn a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Just,
I think it's a good idea to share these meetings with each other, and I know where you're going to. I also happen to know some circumstances that we're not gonna talk about publicly for Evan. Could I ask that that's something you guys talk about outside the meeting, and depending on where it goes, you can just adjust this?
thank you. There's only one.
I'm glad you brought it up. I realize that you've got the second largest number of meetings. I think yours aren't every month though, so. Katie?
I did want to notate on the alternate piece of it. That's a really great, a great thing for most committees. There will be some committees though that's not really feasible. So for like the Regional Materials Management Planning Committee, an alternate's not acceptable under the statute. So if you had an alternate attend in your stead, it would just be to view and listen, but they wouldn't be on the committee and counting like as you. It's not allowed. So just keep that in mind when it does come to the alternate situation. Not all committees can take your alternate as that board member and as that voting member, depending on what their bylaws state or the statute in this situation. So just keep that in mind.
I think
That's
that's true
true.
for the health department, for central wellness.
Yeah.
or You can't just have somebody serve in your stead.
No,
Okay.
and I think that was
So-
part of the reason we got rid of the alternates off the list, because we did that my first year. I think that was part of the reason we got rid of it, is because if they were attending on your behalf, it was just to listen in and kind of keep you abreast of what's going on, but not to be a member.
Yeah, good input. I didn't know that.
Just before we go any further,
Please.
ask Troy his thoughts on eliminating some of these.
You want to step to the microphone, Troy?
Thank you, Troy.
Yeah, I talked to Bob a little bit about the liaison, Bob Rose, our chairman. He said it's a good thing to have there. I know you guys are looking at maybe cutting costs, trying to save taxpayer money. But for day-to-day stuff, which is I think the update you guys are looking for from the road commission, the best person that would come from is me. And in order to have me here monthly is going to be a lot higher cost than it is to have Gary come attend our meetings. And it is nice to be able to ask him questions about the county. It's nice to have him give updates, whether it's 5-minute updates or what it is. 5 minutes is a lot less than me being here from 9:30 to 11:30. So taxpayer money.
Troy, not to be combative with you, but how is it that it's more expensive to have you here than paying him a per diem to be at your meeting?
I have stuff that I need to be doing here at the road commission today, such as getting the bid packages together, doing AutoCAD stuff, getting blueprints, typicals, cross sections. We also have roads out there that need to be taken care of, have crews to run. I do have superintendent and, foreman to help on that side of things, but the bid packages and all that stuff I have to get done. And if I'm not there doing that and I'm here, then I have to make up time.
And it's not been decided that we would even ask you to be here every month.
No, I
Probably a
understand.
couple times a year.
Right. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I can make it here 2-4 times a year. Possibly more than that to give you guys the updates that you're looking for, but it is nice to have a liaison at the road commission to bounce ideas off of, ask questions and give us the update of what's going on over here.
Sure. Appreciate your input.
Thank you. So before if we do this on a trial basis per se.
Okay.
Could we reach out to the rest of these committees and get there? The Maples one is an example that. But you have one state appointee and 2 local people. Dr. Schaefer's here, he could comment too, but I just want to feel like we gave them the opportunity to discuss this too. Okay, if I ask Dr. Schaefer to come up?
You can, but I'm gonna be more than blunt.
Mm-hmm.
They make a lot of decisions. They never invite me in to make it.
Well, I'm sure, yeah.
Respond to. When you're at their meeting, you have 0 vote. So I'd love to have Dr. Schaefer come up and give me his opinion. But at the end of the day, we have to make that decision.
Because there's a lot of stuff that you hear in a meeting. It does not show up in the minutes. And if you do the minutes correctly, there shouldn't be a whole lot of back and forth in them anyway.
Yeah.
Once in a while you pick up something. Is it worth it? I don't. Ask.
Dr. Schaefer, in your capacity as vice chair, would you be willing to comment?
Shows we get them.
What was that?
Anybody shows, we get them.
Yeah, you betcha. Don Schaffer, member of the Maples Board, DHH. No, DMHHS Board also. I think, and this was brought up earlier in the meeting that you guys have been discussing. And I think, I don't know, Bob may have brought it up. There are certain groups where I think the county has a lot more vested interest from a financial standpoint than perhaps other meetings. With the Maples, yes, your input is and concern is with the property rather than the administration of the Maples. However, it's pretty hard to not separate out, or pretty hard to separate out what happens in administration and what happens with the responsibility financially with the building and everything. They go hand in hand because, and right now the administration, I think, is working very well. And we're working towards being profitable as opposed to always in arrear. However, there's a fine line sometimes when certain things happen to buildings and that the resources just are not available at the time. And, and obviously then it falls back on, well, so who's going to pay this bill? And how do we deal with this? So there's a tie in there that I would think that you would want somebody to have a real responsible aspect from the county standpoint, because you would be the backlog for that. And if it isn't handled the other way, it's going to come back on you. So you have a real vested interest. So when you look at those things, what meetings you should include versus not, that's got to be one of your main bases. Yes, PR is important. That could be handled even just attending periodically, just to say I'm here, especially if it's in your district. But above and beyond that, you've also got financial commitments that will come back to haunt you if it isn't handled right. So that should be some of the consideration, at least from my standpoint.
Don, would you have any objections to having your exec make a report to us 2 to 4 times a year?
No, as a matter of fact, we were talking to her, and I was talking to Scott the other day. He probably won't be back to the Maples board. He's looking at getting back by February, but a lot depends upon how his recovery is. But no, matter of fact, we were definitely looking at, and matter of fact, I was trying to press her to respond even monthly, but I think we're working on more now, probably quarterly, that she will be here and will be giving reports, because I think that's vital. Now, at times I could, if something occurs, because I attend this meeting pretty regularly, and I have no problems of getting a hold of any of you if I need to.
So first, both you and the road commission can take solace in knowing that your agencies are so well run, quite frankly, that there's not a lot of controversy. I know what you're saying about buildings.
Oh, yeah.
That ought to be brought to our attention.
Oh, yeah.
As the building owner anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not like we really bring a lot to the table in terms of oversight. You guys are doing the jobs that you need to do. Bob does a terrific job as chair. I see he was just reelected for that. We couldn't have a stronger board at the Maples. I think it is appropriate for the agency to come to us and give us reports with some frequency. And quite frankly, everybody I'm talking to, which hasn't been but a couple, I keep getting the same feedback. Yeah, we'll be glad to have somebody there.
Right.
And equally as important, and Katie and I talked about this, in my opinion, Katie ought to be talking with her peer over at the Maples anyway, and keeping us abreast of what might be going on over there. So those were the backstops that I'm looking at. Remembering what the intent is here, folks. It's not trying to reduce communication, because communication solves 95% of all problems. What you're gonna find is that in the next 12 months, or now 11 months, is that we would like to use your talents and your time to take some initiatives and move them forward. And we're gonna be asking you to use your time and talents to do that. Well, something's gotta give if you're gonna do that.
Right. But that's why I made the comment in reference to where you potentially have real concrete potential liabilities for pushing money into. If you need to, you have to look at which of all those committees and meetings that you should attend, if you've got that liability potentially, because some you may not have that much buy-in from that, from a financial standpoint.
Sure.
But there are some, and Maples is being one because of the building and the property and everything. I mean, that if something needs to be corrected and the monies aren't there, you're the next backstop. I mean, like it or not. I mean, that's just where it falls.
No question. It's our asset. We need to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I'm just saying, look at your committees also with that background.
I appreciate your willingness to comment on it.
Thank you.
Going back to committee assignments. Is there any other comments or questions before we look for a motion to accept as amended? Can I look for a motion, please? Hearing no motion, dies, and there's no committee assignments going forward.
I'll make the motion with,
Okay.
We're just waiting on this.
okay.
You guys are quiet.
I know it, that the Board of
Just making sure
Commissioners
we're good.
accepts the proposed changes. I'd like to throw in for a 90-day trial. Is that, well, we'll see. To the committee assignment list as included in the January 14th, 2025 packet materials, and amends the board rules adopted on January 7th, 2025 to reflect.
And let me understand, you're asking that the motion say for a 90-day trial period?
Right, we'll just try a temporary trial and reevaluate at the end of that time.
Let's open it up to questions and comments. I have an objection to 90 days. That's a pretty short window.
Yeah, 6 months.
I'll make the amendment to, well,
6 months,
make it 6 months and
second that,
Oh, that's fine.
okay.
Thank you. Questions or comments on it now? Hearing none, let's do this by roll call.
Roloffs,
Yes.
Sauer,
yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Worsakki,
Yes.
Janat,
Yes,
Markey,
Yes.
Nye. Yes. Motion carried.
folks, I appreciate the quality of the conversation. It was very helpful. And we will be in contact with the agencies that are affected and let them know that I will come back and revisit this. But I want to stress, you can go to any meeting you want if you think that it's valuable to your own success.
Can I just,
We-
one more thing? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
Is there anything else on this list that you've seen that needs to be updated? Christie, we updated your municipalities. We updated central dispatches time and date. Was there anything else that anyone saw on this before we move?
The bus 6:15.
Bus is 6:15. Okay.
And supper.
Okay. I just want to make sure it's right. So,
And after you leave the meeting, if you see something, feel free to contact me.
please do. Yep.
List you had, even had.
Yeah, so
So
that's
it's
why I want to make sure things are updated.
Yep.
So just let me know if you see something.
Before we move on to the next one, any ad hoc committees that we had in place as of January 1st are gone. I don't know if you know that or not.
Mm-hmm.
So we will be coming back around to talk about a couple of ad hoc committees. One of them specifically, I can tell you is the grant writing.
Grants
position.
and community coordinator. Yep.
We won't address that today, but we will come back to that. Katie, do you want to address the ad hoc committee for Veterans Affairs?
Yes, so we do have one position as of December 31st that is available on the Veterans Affairs Committee. At the time of the packet publishing, we had the applicant, Gary Sauer. And then I did pass out this morning an application that was received yesterday from John Morse. For that committee, it is up to this board as to whether or not they simply want to appoint or establish an ad hoc interview committee. Commissioner Sauer was interviewed within the last 6 months, I believe. And so, but John Morse, I do know you guys know him well as well, because he serves on the BTA too.
His
But
term is up and he's not asking for
not
reappointment.
re-asking. Okay, so it would be up to this committee to establish an ad hoc interview committee or simply appoint to the Veterans Affairs. One of the requirements is that they're a veteran, so that does limit folks. This has been published on our website for some time, and we have not received any additional applicants.
I personally would like to see an ad hoc committee. Give somebody else a set of eyes and ears.
You want to make that motion, Bob, then?
There's a motion in the packet.
I, Bob Roloffs. Make a motion that the Board of Commissioners establish an ad hoc committee to make recommendations regarding one position on the Veterans Affairs Committee, term expiring December 31st, 2028. That the Vice Chair, Commissioners, and
So we need 2 volunteers from the commissioners in addition to Ron.
and the Chair, I'm sorry. Veterans Affairs Chair and the Administrator be appointed to such committee.
So Rhonda, you're on this. So we need 2 other people to be considered. Obviously, Gary, we can't take you.
Bob would be on there as chair anyway.
And Bob will be on there
He
as
could
chair.
actually fill both positions.
That would be up to you how you want to establish it.
Would you be comfortable just assigning one more commissioner?
That's your call. I'm fine with that.
I'm asking the group.
Round them, Tim.
Tim, do you want to? All right, so we'd limit it to just one additional commissioner besides the vice chair.
Chair and 2 other people.
The vice chair, commissioners, there was going to be 2 of them.
You're going to serve as a dual role is what it sounds like, Bob. You'd serve as a commissioner as well as the VA chair.
Good.
So then the motion would read Commissioners Markey and Veterans Affairs Committee Chair and Administrator be appointed to the committee. Is that right? Everybody understand that? Amy? Okay, is there any other discussion?
You did, second.
Oh, I thought we had one.
Do now.
Okay.
All right. Make it happen.
Sauer,
I'm gonna recuse myself.
Greg,
Yes.
Worsakki,
Yes.
Janot,
Yes.
Markey,
Yes.
Nye. Yes. Roloff.
Yes.
The next one has to do with that management materials.
Yeah.
Do you want to, we've talked a lot about that, but go ahead, please.
Yep. So the Materials Management Advisory Committee has 2 positions that are, they expired as of December 31st. These folks are Todd Warren and Samantha Wolf, who have served on the committee for at least one term, Todd a bit longer. We've advertised for this board now for a while, have not received any applicants. Both incumbents are seeking reappointment on this committee. This committee, with the change in bylaws in 2024, is going down to a 5-member committee. And so if you're looking at old committee lists, you'll see that, for instance, Dave Schaefer also expired, but through attrition, and now that he's our contracted individual for the services, he's not then on the committee as a committee member, but he's now pseudo staff person on that. So your policy does allow you to simply reappoint the incumbents when effort has been made to find other applicants, which effort has been made. And so the recommendation, there is 2 recommendations, but you would not be remiss of just reappointing.
I'll make the motion that Todd Warren and Samantha Wolf reappointed to a 3-year term. Materials Management Advisory Committee, terms expiring December 31st, 2027.
I support.
Additional conversation? Comments, questions? Hearing none? Got a roll call?
Janai,
Yes.
Markey,
Yes.
Nye,
Yes.
Roloff.
Yes.
Sauer,
Yes.
Craig. Yes. Worsakki.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. We'll leave next agenda items, commissioners' reports. Gary?
Stick me right up front. Huh?
I'm gonna stick you right out there.
Okay, well, I'm gonna add one to it. I went to the village of Thompsonville last night. There's the issue that was discussed earlier with the treasurer was discussed. There's an issue with, I'll be throwing everybody under the bus, but the people that they hired to do the, hooking up of the meters for the water system, we're supposed to also input the information to Bobby, I don't know what Bob or what his name is, that runs the DPW, so he could put in the program, who's hooked up, who's not hooked up, where they need to go, and on and on. But all of a sudden, they just quit doing that. And one of the issues that arose was some reason they wanted to turn one on. Sure, the insurance company's coming. It had not been hooked up and the water just blew through the top of the house and some of those issues. So there's some major concerns here about getting things straightened out and because the engineering firm seems to be a lack of getting things out, and USDA is upset that things aren't up to par, and right now they're not happy about handing out the money. So anyway, just another exciting day. You can read pretty much what I have there. I will address the Benzie School thing. You know, the chairman is here. He's welcome to come up too. Don't mind. I was approached at a meeting. What's the school doing with the sale of this building, the $425,000? Where's the money going? What are you going to do? So that's basically what I reached out to say. And all of a sudden, I'm accused of handing out misinformation. It's public fund. I want to know, the public has the right to know where you're going to spend this money. I also learned that they are selling I don't know, company or whoever that bought the old high school that wants to make a distillery out of it, made an offer on the old bus garage, which should have been condemned years ago, and the property. So there's an additional funding source there. And next thing I know, Brian got pretty upset with me, is what it is. It got out there, and then I think the reason they were upset was because all of a sudden they got emails asking what's going on here. I think the whole thing could have been addressed when the article came out in the paper. And I know they didn't get the cash immediately, but they do have an offer. And they do have that figure. I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but when it comes to public funds, we need to be transparent. And the school needs to be transparent. And accuse me of anything you want, but that was the information I had received. I'll just give you a quick overview on the road commission. They had Apex Engineering in there. And they are still discussing what to do. It appears that trying to do anything with the old building is just throwing money after, just throwing it away. So their best bet is to move forward with the project. About it, but I'll let Brian talk.
Well, I just for protocol, Brian, I know you've been sitting patiently, but I'm gonna ask you to respond to that during public input. We're in commissioner reports right now.
Thanks.
No, I got you, buddy.
I'm
with you.
sorry.
Oh,
Sorry,
I
Brian.
want to address it, so.
Yeah, you will have a chance, I promise.
That's why I didn't do it earlier, so I want to let Gary give his report, so.
I kind of figured.
So.
No, we're good. That wasn't intended to embarrass you.
I'm
Okay,
there.
okay, all right.
Takes a lot more than that.
Gary, anything else?
No, that's pretty much it. You can read the rest of it. Whole lot there.
Is there questions for Gary?
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're talking about with the school.
School sold Crystal Lake School to the Aquatic Center. The amount of $425,000. I was asked, what does the school plan on doing with the money? Well, actually, I was asked, are they gonna reduce the bond and lower our taxes? Is how it was portrayed to me, which is a justifiable question. So I reached out at the request of the chair. I discussed it, and it's just one of those things I probably wouldn't have resonated with me, except that somebody from the public asked. And so I
We
tried to
just
get,
tell them to go to the school board meeting and ask them.
well, I feel it's my responsibility to know where tax money's going. So that's why I reached out. I was looking for clarification, thought I had it. But once somebody else reached out to the superintendent, I gave, things got a little out of hand, but I want everybody to know I did not spread this information.
Other questions or comments for Gary? Rhonda?
Sure, I attended the Water Smart Land Use Committee. They're going to be submitting for another grant opportunity. There was a lengthy discussion regarding the interview process of stakeholders to create a great gap analysis of local permitting practices for land use. Josh Mills represents, I think, 5 entities in the community for zoning, so he will be a one fell swoop interview for several different areas. And then questions were reviewed for the interviews. They're ultimately creating a toolbox to find out how each individual entity is conducting their zoning permitting process, and with hopes of coming up with a recommendation for a best standard for the whole. I appreciate the effort and think they're running with a ball and filling a gap that the county arguably used to fill. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. I attended the Village of Benzonia. Their master plan and 5-year park and recreation plan was adopted by resolution. There was an ice rink discussion. It is unknown if Cottage Pros will be creating the rink. If not, there likely won't be an ice rink this year. They over the years have relied heavily on volunteer efforts, and those don't be coming forth right now. Property owners have been notified in writing where invasive species have been identified and treatment plan options have been offered. Homeowners are being given both a chemical and a non-chemical option. I attended the organizational meeting with everybody. Put a note in there for the community in my report when we're meeting. That I attended the land bank. It was decided the chair is going to continue to be Mark Roper, Secretary Jason Bernard, and Treasurer Kelly Long. The 669 property that the land bank owns will likely be with the land bank indefinitely. That was a landfill. Prior landfills make subsoil cleanup cost prohibitive. And that property carries a 21,000 DNR lien for tire removal when cleanup was conducted. So that's doesn't make it a real marketable property. 7440 River Street, which is now owned by the land bank, and the land is connected to the house now. There's gonna be an RFP created for remediation and renovation. That's affectionately referred to as the mold house. It is filled with mold. And it's gonna be noted that the sale would require an occupancy permit within 18 months of purchase. There was a discussion regarding low inventory of the land bank and changes regarding the ability to access forfeited properties, with the new laws of the one case where people can put notice in on the proceeds that are received. So the land bank may look into programs to help residents improve their properties. Shelley Thompson would be heading up that effort, and more information to come. I plan to continue to attend that meeting, even though it has been removed from my liaison list. And then the land bank just noted they welcome a supportive role with the state land bank and their Alberta project, and they wanted a letter written stating that they're there as a resource if need be. I attended Benzonia Township. There was a new building update. It is fully enclosed. 80% of interior walls are complete. Rough plumbing and heating is complete. And completion of the entire project is late April or early May. The board approved an appraisal of the current township building. Apparently, the number they came up with based on sales from the assessor is about 100,000 more than a potential purchaser is suggesting paying. So they thought an appraisal should be warranted. The watershed amendments, which have been being considered for months and months and months now, will be considered at a joint meeting with Plant Lake Township. I believe I understood that was a budget meeting they were going to have. Trustee Julie Orr was appointed to the Planning Commission. And then Eric Van Duzen during public comment did an attorney use policy, and it's one that was used by the Building Authority and by the Benzie Bus Board, and urged the Township Board to consider adopting the policy, and board adopted the policy unanimous at that meeting. Central Wellness Board, Chip was here. He went pretty thoroughly over everything that I was going to fill you in on. The unassigned meetings I've attended, the EDC Community Forum, very well attended. There was some excellent community participation. Be interested to see what the feedback from the professional who came in and conducted the forum will be, so those conversations can continue. And then the Materials Management Planning Commission, I attended that as well. There was a presentation from Eagle on the 2025 MMP grant program. The grant program is now reimbursable, not front-loaded. I got to give credit to the board because I think everybody was shocked when they said that. Everybody up to that moment had been told over this whole process that this was going to be funded on the front end, and now it's not.
No, this is the materials
Materials
management, the
management.
plan. Remember all
Yeah.
along Jesse was saying, and then I've been saying,
It's
Eagle
staying
just
right there.
announced
Yeah.
last week that it will now be reimbursable. And they're not sure if they're going to cover any expenses of the work up until now.
Yep.
Even though we've been working on it. So yeah, we were all a little annoyed.
What kind of figure you have on?
They don't have any figures at this point, and the board was very calm. I mean,
Well-
Eagle was zoomed in, and they just said, we're gonna have our administrative people get with Eagle and figure out what exactly this means.
Yeah, so by us regionalizing, we agreed to regionalize, which then gave us an extra $30,000. So $70,000 a year for each county is what's on the list that's now reimbursable. And so that would mean we would have to front load up to $70,000 every year in hopes to get it back in a timely fashion from Lansing.
Plus the fact that they don't reimburse very quickly. And
Correct.
they're gonna decide what to give you and what not to give you.
Right,
Oh
so
my God,
we're
but
in a, I was gonna go over that, so I'll finish that thought when I get to me.
And then they also shared, which I thought was interesting, that 49 of the 83 counties are working collaboratively. So it's not everyone, but the ones that are, we're one of them. Motion passed requesting commissioner representation. And then they also had a discussion in that meeting regarding elected official per diem. Most everybody on the regional board was already paid by the entities they're representing for being there. And the Grand Traverse Commissioner they stopped paying per diems. They upped their salaries and got rid of per diems. So I believe that Commissioner Triggs per diem would be paid through the grant.
We're gonna ask if it's an allowable expenditure. We're not sure that it
Right.
is.
Right, but at the end of the day, I mean, I think we would all agree she should be paid for going. So,
Absolutely.
If she's assigned, she gets paid.
right, I'm just not. Yeah, I don't know if they have to address that further, if it's that just something we do on the county's end.
Oh, I'm working with Chris Forsyth and Gail over in Leelanau to work through some of those hoops. We're just very gun shy because Eagle has been known to pull the carpet like with the reimbursement thing. So we're working through that.
That's all I have.
Any questions for Rhonda on her report? Thank you. Tim?
How to begin? I don't know. Buildings and grounds, we covered that in this meeting. Then the senior resources, Doug Duran's last board meeting. Did the last accounts payable of 2024? The NMRE, Northern Michigan Regional Entity, Substance Use Disorder Oversight. There's only one grant request, and it was not for Benzie County, it was for Manistee. We made the recommendation to have the full, approve that. And there was a presentation from the Northern Michigan Opioid Response Consortium on their jail release. And what this is they give like individuals who are involved with people that have been released from jail, getting them acclimated back into society kind of thing, or getting them, back into doing things. It kind of gives them a simulation of roadblocks that these people encounter, right? The hoops that they have to jump through, the roadblocks that are put up because, oh, you were in jail, you're not welcome here, kind of getting a job, getting assistance. So it kind of like helps people better understand what these people that are being released from jail, what they go through. Kind of a interesting process. Organizational meeting, the Homestead Township Board twice since our last time I gave a report. They're looking at approving, and then they did approve software to help them map and track their cemetery. My understanding is this, that they're gonna be able to do this, have it online, and public should be able to access all of it. And they approved and went ahead with results and do upgraded and additional security cameras, along with new electronic doors. Central Wellness, their director, CEO Chip did a fantastic job with that presentation. The Village of Honor, Annie Stadel with the Traverse Bay Lifestyle Magazine was there. It's a quarterly magazine. She informed the village council that they would be featuring the honor area in an upcoming edition. They're asking for ideas, contacts, historical information. They will have been and already reaching out businesses, other organizational groups like HARP, to get a lot of the information. It's kind of interesting. And they're trying to fill an empty trustee seat on it. Yeah.
Good report. Any comments or questions for him? Evan?
I had Inland Township meeting. It was business as usual, nothing really to report there. Colfax Township meeting, their treasurer has resigned and they've appointed a new treasurer. I did not catch his first name's Jeremy. I didn't catch his last name and wasn't able to meet up with him after the meeting to get that. And the assessor that they had has stepped away and they are in the process of hiring a new assessor. That was Colfax. And then the Benzie Bus, I attended the executive committee meeting where it was just discussed about setting up their agenda for meetings to kind of streamline that, and then looked at recruitment for an orientation for new board members.
They're a new director for that meeting.
New chair.
Yeah,
Or which one?
plus.
No, it's Ann Noah.
Good.
She's been there for, I think, a year. She's been there.
Says last night. Any comments or questions for Evan? Bob, please.
I actually only have had one meeting. And that was yesterday, and it didn't come to fruition. Because did not have a quorum. Couple guys not available. We have one guy out on a medical. Hopefully he's back at our next meeting. Because of the weather, there was a bus accident in Traverse City School System. One of our members is the bus director for Traverse City, so he had to turn around and go back to be with the bus. So we were sitting there twiddling our thumbs, but we were able to have some decent discussion with Karen Korlenko and one of the other guys, so it worked out good. Just, bouncing some stuff off each other, but we'll be back up and running strong next month. Thank you.
Anybody have questions for Bob?
And something I saw in the news, and I think it involved our congressman. It's about death benefits. And something about if you don't pass away in a veterans hospital, entitled to certain things, and they are changing that, but still sounded kind of convoluted. I just curious if you had any idea.
As far as I know, if you're a veteran and don't have anything attached, but other than your time served, and you pass away, you are able to get reimbursement for some stuff, but it's kind of you gotta follow the dots to make sure it happens, and it's like a $600 deal or something like that, and a flag.
Hopefully they'll clean it up. Just
Hopefully,
sounds like a mess.
depends on who's working on it.
Thank you, Bob.
Christie, this will be your first official report.
All right.
You need
So-
to stand up at the podium.
Right, yes, I'll just stand up and go over there.
Let me get the spotlight for you.
Thank you, yes. So the first thing is that I have completed my training with MSU Extension, the Commissioner School. I do not have my certificate, so I need to follow up with them. We need that certificate.
Real quick.
I don't think yeah,
Good.
I think I'd have to do something really wrong to fail. But anyway, yes, and that was really helpful, that training. I'm so glad I had that opportunity. The other thing I did was I attended the EDC along with Commissioner Nye and Commissioner Janat. It was a very good meeting. It was kind of a brainstorming for strategic planning for the EDC. I mostly listened. It seemed like what folks talked about quite a bit was education and training and housing. Those were the big things. The moderator kind of pulled people around to infrastructure, which obviously Commissioner Nye substantiated that we have some work to do in that area. Talking about that, talking about and then who do we go to? Who does somebody go to when they want to come to Benzie County and have a business? Who's their point person? And so I thought that was very thought-provoking as well. I didn't know, and it sounds like we have maybe some work to do there. Anyway, it was a really great meeting to attend, and I learned a lot. And more to come. There will be a strategic plan out of the end of this, so. And that's what I did. I listened.
Anything you want to add to that meeting about the EDC? The only thing I will say for clarification is that this board approved a $90,000 budget for the EDC this year. Thank you very much. 25,000 of it is used for this consultant that has a great resume for us. And ultimately, what we're trying to decide is, does the county belong in economic development? And if they do, what should that structure look like? And that was the first meeting. There was, do you know how many people were there, Katie?
Yeah, it's about 30.
That was
The
full.
list is on my desk, so I'm not sure.
It was full. We brought in extra chairs, and these were a number of community leaders that I thought had great insight. And we've promised to use their time productively. So it was a good meeting. You've got my report, and so I'm not going to regurgitate that for you. But what I do want to use this time to do quickly, because I overlooked it earlier, is AP reviews, the agenda and invocations. On the AP reviews, can I get a show of hands who would like to continue being on the call list for those reviews?
I'm sorry, what is AP reviews?
Accounts payable.
So that's where you come in and on a rotating basis to approve them. So we've got Christy and Bob.
So I don't have a problem doing it as long as it doesn't burden admin that I have to come in later in the afternoon.
I want to speak for admin. It does. When we were talking
Then
about
I'm,
these
that's
things.
good.
Yeah. And you know, and I have talked about
Yeah.
these things already. Tim, did you, your hand, Rhonda, Gary, and myself. So if you'll make note of that,
So everyone but Evan.
and we'll put that on a calendar. And I appreciate your candor, Evan, quite frankly, because sometimes they're under a lot of pressure to get those over for the board packet, and that's the issue. The agenda. We tried last year to have everybody contribute. What I want to remind you of the agenda is any one of us can contribute to the agenda anytime. All you've got to do is call Katie and say, look, I want this subject on the agenda. And if it doesn't fit because we're already too full, we will get it on a future agenda. With that in mind, going forward for at least this year, and I know this is going to sound dictatorial, but Rhonda, Katie, and myself will set that agenda from your input. So I encourage you to make that phone call if you've got something that you would like to be on the agenda,
Or email.
or email, whatever works, right? Text messages, whatever.
Next word, whatever.
The final piece is the invocation. Can I get a show of hands of who would like to participate on a rotating basis to give the invocation? None of you? Gary,
And Bob, I think would be, well.
Bob, Rhonda, would you have any interest in doing that?
Every day. I
Okay,
have no problem.
all right. Evan, do you want to be
No.
part of that rotation? Christie? Okay, do you get that list? And what we're going to do is on the agenda,
Are you
Where
on
it's-
that list?
pardon me?
Are you on that list?
I am not.
Okay.
On the agenda is, well, I'd only be praying for myself, so God knows I have to speak to him.
I'm not
often
gonna
enough.
pray for it.
I know that. So on the agenda, on this rotating calendar, where it says invocation, we'll put the name of the person doing it. So you'll know 2, 3, 4 days in advance of the rotation. Quite frankly, it's to get everybody involved. You all have something to say. You're elected officials, people want you at this table. I'd like you to be participating in that. That's all I have. Administrator's report?
Sure. So it's already been talked about the EDC. We met last Friday. We had quite the meeting. I did record that meeting and I've sent it to Steve Arwood, who is the consultant we've hired. I do have high hopes from that. It was really great to hear from so many people in our community. It was good. So if you do want that recording, let me know. I can share the link with you. Otherwise, like Christy said, wait in the future and there'll be a document coming forward. Materials Management Planning Committee, we've also touched on that a bit. Those are also online. They are on our website. If you go to our materials management page, you can see links to the packet materials, minutes, as well as the video recordings of those. So like we talked about all along, since before me, we've talked about at some point, the state's going to call a plan update and they're going to pay for it. Great. we have all been under the impression that that was going to be a front loaded, here's the money, get it done. We just learned last week from Eagle that it's going to be reimbursable. Part of the process called out in statute says that we have to have a plan put together as to how we're gonna do what they've told us to do. We have to give them a local plan. They're indicating to us that they're not sure if us developing the plan will be reimbursable and that it may only be reimbursable after the plan's in place and we're carrying out the plan. So we've already had 3 meetings. We've had countless hours of staff time into this already, and we're now being told we don't know if that's reimbursable. We're hoping it is. We're going to ask that it is, but we're not sure. The other kicker to all of this is we have to resubmit the plan, an updated plan and a tweaked plan every single year to get that grant every single year for the next 3 years. So if we get it here this year for the initial plan that we submit, that only guarantees us that funding for 1 year. We have to do it again the second year and the third year and thereafter. So a little bit of shell shock. It went viral in fun terms in our administrator listserv because every administrator was like, wait, what? So I had a lot of emails from just administrators because almost every county is just taken aback by that reimbursement style now. On the 28th, you will have additional appointments in front of you for that planning committee. We are replacing a couple of folks on that committee, one being the Village of Sutton's Bay president, and then another one being either Mary Pitcher or Jason Barnard. I do want to stress that Benzie County is heavily represented on that committee because even some of the private entities that are on that committee are also Benzie County residents. So we are heavily represented on that committee, which I think is great. So far, Grand Traverse County has been great to work with. They are going to be our fiduciary in all of this, so they're going to handle a lot of the bookkeeping. But we'll still have to do our own grant management. So that's the other kicker of Eagle is even though we're a regional entity, we've created a regional plan. Every county has to individually submit for reimbursement. So that's why administration is sitting down now because we have to figure out, okay, well, how are we going to calculate each other's times and energy and into this because we have to seek reimbursement on an individual county basis, even though it's one plan and one effort. So we're getting through it, but there'll be more to come on that one. Grants, we're working through other grants, Betsy Valley Trail, Crystal Lake Outlet and such. We applied for an MMRMA grant for security cameras. The Betsy Valley Trail grant, we are hopefully moving forward with awarding a pavement contract here soon. So we're meeting on Wednesday with the Betsy Valley Trail Management Council. And the hope is that it comes before you at the next meeting. Elmer's was the low bidder to pave here from Beulah up to Case Road. You will, if you've walked this path, you do see where it crosses a dirt road, which is Richardson Road. And Shane from Gordy Fraser, who we're working with, has gotten with Troy on paving that approach. So from, I guess, is that considered Court Place or is that Case Road? Paving the approach on Richardson Road to the trail and just past the trail. Really, the idea of that is for longevity when it comes to like snow plowing, for instance. If you're, going up that hill, we don't want to clip the edge of the trail and then we're constantly maintaining the trail there. So Elmer's did do a call out for that, and we do have additional trail funding that we'll look at potentially using to pay for that approach. So from the main road up just past the trail, and that's really for longevity. Yes, the pavement will allow for snowmobiles. That has been a big topic of conversation all along. Regarding the paving of this, snowmobiles will be allowed on those paths. And then the last one I just want to say, every commercial property owner in Benzie County received a pretty stern letter from my office regarding recycling. We have taken numerous phone calls on that letter. We also put something in the paper. I just want to say to the community that we apologize for it being so stern, but that's the point that we were at. That letter was a mass letter sent to every property owner, every commercial property owner. We didn't pinpoint folks. It felt like we were pointing a finger. We didn't intend it to, but for those that maybe needed the finger, they know they got it. So just as a reminder, that program is for residential purposes only. And when we say that we're in jeopardy of losing the program because of the abuse, that's not a lie. That is true. We've had conversations with the mayor or DFL and such, and we need to be diligent as a community to make sure that we're only using that program for its intended purpose so that we don't lose that program. So if businesses and commercial property owners need, say, cardboard recycling, because that really is the big hit to all of this, please reach out to our office or to Dave Schaefer, whose number is listed online, about maybe some feedback and some help in finding somebody to implement that recycling. What we understand is there is recycling offered on a private basis that you can pay for, and that businesses can go into a partnership to have, say, a recycling bin outside of their businesses, and it's pretty inexpensive. So just reach out to us if you need some advice on that, but we do not want to lose that residential program. So please, please, please do not abuse it if you are a business. Other than that, things are humming along in our office. Stephanie's doing wonderful. She's been in our office now a few weeks. We have hired a new animal control officer. We'll get him down here at the next meeting for all of you to meet him. His name is Jim. Kyle's doing wonderful things in maintenance and buildings and grounds. We're going to call a committee meeting here next week to go over some things. But other than that, things are going well. Is there any questions for me?
I would just share it is prudent that we share this information at the meetings we attend about commercial businesses not using the recycling. I was in a situation where a business had suggested using those, and I went, whoa, 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 you know, those aren't for businesses. They didn't know. And I went, well, how could they not know that they rent space? So there is a gap there where they wouldn't have intentionally done that, but they didn't know. The letter probably went to the owner of the space and didn't share it with the tenants. So the more we can get that word out that these are for residential use only, it might deter some folks who weren't aware.
Yeah, and it is statutory that requirement. This is not Benzie County saying we don't support businesses. Statutorily, we're only able to collect that surcharge for a residential program. So that is state statute of what we're going off from for that surcharge. So if they ask, you know, well, why this, it's not Benzie County's rules.
I guess on the other hand of that is then what do we have to give those businesses to say, this is where you go?
I can get with Dave and maybe get a list as to far as what businesses, but 9 times out of 10, they just need to talk with their trash hauler.
Okay.
Almost everyone in Benzie County either has Northern Disposal or GFL, who both can assist with cardboard recycling and other recycling. So 9 times out of 10, they simply need to talk to their trash hauler about it, about the options that they have afforded to them.
I can tell you as a business owner, I contracted with separately for cardboard.
Mhm. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments for Katie? Katie, the only thing is a follow-up. You and I had a conversation about the prospect of fencing in some of those areas.
Mhm.
Have you had a chance to explore that yet?
I touched base with Dave about it, and Dave was kind of mulling over some of that. So, but we haven't picked back up on it yet.
The observation was made to me by some members of the public that trash is blowing around and the fence might contain it.
Yep.
That's where that came up from.
Hmm.
Nothing else, son?
Mm-mm.
All right, we are, you've seen the correspondence. We're at public comment.
I'm Annie Browning from the Village of Beulah, and first I wanted to say to Katie, I'm sorry, I was on the MAC and I suggested that sternly worded letters go out there. Dave put together some signs that are great and they had please and thank you on them. And Samantha and I suggested removing the please and thank you and saying like, not giving them choices.
Blame Annie, don't call me.
I'm sorry about that. But anyway, I'm here to talk about so I live, in the Village of Beulah. I've been renting there. I'm on the council and such. And my lease went up significantly last year. And so somebody helped me pay that and so I could stay on the council. But I've been looking for a place to live, and I recently signed a purchase agreement on FACLT housing in Frankfurt. So thank you. You all, I think, put money in for that. So it's really great. I'm really looking forward to moving to Frankfurt and owning a home, investing in a home. But I'm so disappointed to be leaving Beulah too. And I can see now the Village of Beulah is, in my opinion, they're in trouble because we are going to be, we reducing the number of trustees on our board from 6 to 4 at tonight's meeting, or discussing that. Because we can't find anyone to be on the council. I think literally we're like asking everybody in the community if they can do it. There's 340 people there that live there, registered to vote anyway. And a lot of them aren't there all year. A lot of them are old, really old and unable to do things. So, I don't know what the long-term solution is, except for like building affordable housing in Beulah. Unfortunately for me, it's not happened soon enough. But on the planning commission also, so hopefully we can get something like that. I know that trying to get John Simpson into the planning commission meeting is something I've been doing. And our zoning administrator, Tim Cipher, said that he has a connection to John Simpson. So hopefully we can get him in there and in Beulah and, keep the village going. Also I wanted to say, I went to the Village of Honor meeting last night and saw Tim there. And it was strikingly different from the Village of Beulah meetings because they have more affordable housing, unlike the Village of Beulah. So there's a good number of young people there. There's probably 25 people there, and like half of them were under 50. So it was encouraging. And I feel,
Well, you were born in the 1900s, so.
so that was real. Oh, and then, so the city of Frankfurt, I'm really looking forward to moving in there. I'm a little bit intimidated considering I'm from like Andover. I'll figure out what they need there. So thank you for everything.
Congratulations.
Good deal. I only know somebody that got.
Ryan, would you like to address the group?
That's wonderful.
And with the commission's approval, I'd like to waive the time constraint of 3 minutes for Brian and give him ample opportunity to say what's on his mind.
All right, first of all, I probably will get a little amped up because the school is, I've got everything, heart and soul into that school. 10 years on the board, still 2 more to go for my term. I was just reelected last night as president again, which will be, I think, my 7th year as board president for the district. I've been coaching and volunteering there for 25 years, along with the 10 on the board so far. So yes, I do get passionate about it. And Gary, I guess to address you first, I wasn't upset that you were inquiring. What I was upset about was the fact that it kind of turned into this telephone game, which is why I'll have a conversation later about what Amy and I have talked about. But I'm talking with you one evening, and then the next morning, Amy and myself are getting emails and calls from community members saying that we're going to build a $450,000 shed. I mean, that's a little disingenuous to what the scope of the project that we're contemplating doing, because first of all, we have not received any money yet. We have a purchase agreement with BWAC. We're supposed to close by the end of the month, but we've been dealing with BWAC now for almost a year. And so I'm pretty positive that it'll happen by the end of the month, but we have not received any funding. So up until the beginning of, at our December meeting, we were still in limbo whether or not this deal would even go through. So we had no plans for the money because we've been dealing with them for almost a year now and really wasn't counting on it up until that point. And the same has been going on with the bus garage. We've been talks about selling the bus garage with the gentleman that owns the former high school for about a year now. And same thing, it's been going on. So there's been we do not have $600,000 sitting in our bank account, just playing with it, or waiting. We don't even have it yet. So we haven't really had a great plan yet moving forward. One of the things that we'd like to do with that money is to build a maintenance facility. And Gary, I know I said maintenance barn in our conversation, and that's maybe how it kind of got down to we're just building a shed to house equipment. That's not the case. Our maintenance right now is spread out between 3 different sites. Some of it is being utilized at the old bus garage. Maintenance has a lot of stuff in there. Talking with our maintenance director, it'd be nice to have one centralized maintenance facility where you can store equipment. We have tractors sitting out, we have plows sitting out, we have, all of this equipment sitting out that taxpayers have paid for, that we want to get centrally located undercover to kind of, help maintain some of that maintenance. So that's one of the projects that we're looking to do with this extra money. If we get it. Going back to, and I guess part of that was, my personal feeling on it is we have just spent over the last 6 years, spending almost $50 million of the taxpayers' money on capital improvements and sinking fund projects with not a peep. And now $425,000 has somehow raised this little uproar about what are we going to do with the money? Like, if we're really concerned about what the district's doing, in transparency, I agree 100%. We have a truth and transparency page on our website. Every single dollar that we spend is accounted for. We just had our audit report last night. Every single dollar that we spend on bond projects has been accounted for. So I agree in transparency and that, but like, if we're interested, let's be interested the entire time and about every dollar that we're spending and what we're doing with our taxpayers. I'm totally open to it because we have been working our tail. I mean, I go back, you guys had said that, over the past year, you guys had done 700 meetings collectively as a group, I think is what you said. I think I've done that in that year by myself, with all the committees that I sit on. We meet weekly, with our construction management crew and our architect crew about bond projects. So I get the time commitment and I'm passionate about, I mean, I volunteer. I mean, I don't volunteer. I donate all my, board member proceeds back to the district. So I do that all pro bono. And when I start getting, and that's what it felt like. It felt like an attack. Like someone was questioning whether or not I'm spending $450,000 on a shed. Like my integrity was, I just felt attacked, I guess. And for just out of the blue, not worrying about the other 50 million that we just spent, but now how are we going to be really transparent with $425,000? I just kind of thought that was an attack. And I would love to have conversations with you, all of you guys. I think we have to work together. I mean, we are probably the largest consumer of taxpayer dollars in the district as a single entity, I would assume.
You are.
I mean, we $10 million a year on operating and, with the bond and sinking fund. Yes, we're $60 million that we rely on from this community, which they are gracious enough to do. And we appreciate it. And we're trying to do the best that we can with those dollars. Federal funding is in the toilet right now. We were supposed to get, our pupil allowance was supposed to go up between all three committees. When it came out of committee, was going to be an average of about $240 a kid. We got zero. They gave us zero increase in our per pupil funding this year. So when we set our budget decreased by almost $1.5 million. Thankfully, as a district, we had enough money in our general fund to take that hit for this year because we just lost $1.5 million to try to educate our kids, our grandkids, so we're busting our tail and it felt like an attack that now, you don't trust us with $425 money that we don't even have. I mean, that was the attack that that was the reasoning, Gary. And I even said I wasn't really mad at you. And the fact that you were even interested, it was just like, why now? Why now? And I was just, it was frustrating. So I apologize if you thought that I was personally attacking you because I wasn't, Gary.
That's not where I heard the, sorry. If you'll allow me, I won't.
We're gonna waive the protocol on this.
I wasn't attacking you personally. I took it personally when somebody said I was spreading misinformation. And I understand, I all along, I'm concerned about the school's spending. But my job is to discuss stuff with the public. And that's why I brought it forward. I'm sorry everybody misunderstood it as we're gonna spend it all on a pole barn. But the reality is, when that article came out with the sale, at that point in time, something should have been put in there to say the school has plans for these proceeds. They have upkeep on the building, on and on and on. Just so the public knows, first thing I get hit with, you heard me.
Mm-hmm.
Are we getting our money back? So it's, I think the article in the paper is what set it off.
Right.
Timing. And I'm sorry if.
And we didn't want to have a press release on our end, what we're going to do with it, because again, until the money is in our account, we're not counting on it. Just because of how this whole thing has gone with BWAC to this point. Like, I mean, we don't have a closing date. We're supposed to close by the end of the month. We don't have a closing date yet. We're halfway through the month. So, so to put information out there when we don't have the money, I think is not right on our end. We're, you know, why would we say that we're gonna do something with all this money when we don't even have it? And then the money don't show up and now we told people that we're gonna do something with it. I mean, that's.
The money doesn't show up, then
Well,
testify.
well,
that
I
you
think it
can't
just-
do anything with it, and nobody's gonna argue that point
Well,
with you.
someone probably will,
Well.
Gary. Let's be honest. So,
thanks.
so Amy and I going forward, and a lot of the conversation you guys had today was actually conversation Amy and I had, our superintendent Erforth. You know, I know you guys have tried to have a liaison with the district. I know Evan's been there. I know Rhonda's been there. Tim, I've seen you there a couple times. Listen, we would love for you guys to show up at our meetings, and we know it's impossible. So Amy and I are offering, one, we can, either herself or myself or whoever the president is at the time is willing to come here quarterly, monthly. I'm not gonna make every Tuesday because today I don't want to work outside, but some, you know, sunny Tuesdays, I would want to be outside working. But we're more than welcome to, or more than willing to come quarterly and offer a report from the district as of what's going on in the district. So you guys are all aware and you can spread it to your constituents from the horse's mouth and not telephone game, because I want to be very direct with every single person that I am trying to get information from. And I think that got lost a little bit there. So also, Amy and I would like to extend an invitation. If you guys can set a date, we'd love to take you around and show you all the facilities that we've done with the $50 million that our taxpayers have given us. Because I don't know many that really have the opportunity on a daily, unless you have kids there, to go there and see what we have done with taxpayers. So if you guys can set a date that works with all of you, Amy and I will make our schedule available and we'll do that. So we do still have a few things that we are trying to finish up, punch list stuff. It's funny, the lighting issue here, not getting bids, we were in the same boat with a lot of our projects. We had to go with one bidder because just couldn't get bids. So projects ran on average post-COVID, as well of you, all of you are probably well aware of, 20 to 40% more than what we were originally budgeting. You know, and it is what it is, but you know, the bond failing 4 times cost us. We had to reduce the amount of the bond by the time we got to the 4th time. And then so we're reducing by millions of dollars and then spending 20 to 40% more. I mean, we worked our tails off to get everything done that we told the taxpayers we were going to do to get done with those restraints. So we've been doing our best with the money that we've got. So I want to make sure that goes out there that, you know, and when if this $425,000 come through, we're gonna do the best with that we can. So.
I appreciate the clarity.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So.
No, don't ever take this stuff
No, I
personally.
don't. I just, so if we want to open a relationship, then I'm all for it. And I think Amy's all for it too, because like I told you on the phone, you know, with the district and the commissioners, I mean, if we don't have an open and honest relationship with each other, then we're doing all of the county a disservice, especially our kids. And that's why I've been doing it for 25 years. So,
So Brian, I appreciate the fact that you spent 3+ hours of your time this morning here. I know it's difficult to sit and listen when you're ready to get to the subject that you're most interested in. Maybe you and I can open up a dialogue. I'm not going to use now to debate some of the things that you've said, but it might be helpful if you know what we're hearing from the community too.
Sure.
In a very constructive manner.
Absolutely.
Okay? And because it is personal to you, I can see that.
Mhm.
All right, and so we'll make a point of doing that. We would love to get reports here, and quarterly probably is too frequent anyway, but you know, if we're getting a semi-annual, but why don't we talk about those things offline?
Sure.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Anything else you'd like to add?
Not right now.
So while we've got Brian here, and I want to be careful not to get into a debate, but is there anything you'd like to say? Brian, thanks for taking the time
Yep,
today.
thank you.
I know your time is valuable. This did actually cost you money being here today. Anybody else for public comment? We warn you all out, then we'll move for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn, roll-offs.
Worsakki will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed, same sign? Okay, we'll adjourn again at 12:45.
You will reconvene.